know how to see a whack MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds. Open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far, but evil that lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin, but then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, and plus we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. Listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision. Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC slash master of the ceremony. Tenderoni, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Implore me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. It's the card, they call me Uncle Bigger. Niggas love you blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange the whole concept. You was good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics. Just atomic, it bleeds like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static with the Boomatic type of skill. You wonder, is this nigga Vic really for real? It's still, but only necessary in the berry. I'm milk like dairy, they quite contrary. That's scary, but I'm a dog in the prairie. I scurry to grab my bones and just bury. Lyrical flurry, go get your secretary with impeccable diction. My style might vary, so get a hold of your own shit real fast. Fucking with us, we take it right out your ass. Prairie dogs chill while the other dogs howl. Too many dogs get sent to the pound. Back on the hill, me and my peeps just lounge. Prairie dogs, we keep it on the down. Splatter, don't like gun splatter. We try to climb the ladder, wicked men get better. They make it like splatter, but it really don't matter. Cause you know we coming back to our sons and our daughters. Father, him the one who protects ya, and the mother, she will never neglect ya. Through divine nature, the people respect ya, and in this way I deliver my lecture.
It is Thursday, the 09th, July 0900. That would make it 3 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, America. And that makes it 9:01 Central European Time over here in Copenhagen, Denmark. What's up, y'all? How's everything going? Hope everybody got some rest. Yeah, as we heard, we heard that lunatic just go on and on. Granddaddy, somebody needs to stop abusing Trump. Like, elder care is not nice. Elder abuse, is not nice. It's not fair to throw senile old people out there onto any stage, let alone the stage of NATO as the president of the United States and shit. Trump was out there talking about, yeah, I know NATO. NATO Jenkins. Yeah, somebody bothering you? I can call NATO Jenkins, man. He'll get his cousins to fuck you up. I mean, Trump was out there a madman, and they don't care. The oligarchs love it. It's the perfect example of what an oligarch goes to. A fucking potato head, marshmallow head, someone who can't think, someone who is illiterate, functionally illiterate, someone that can do no math, somebody that knows not a map, someone that can't name 10 countries in a row, someone who can't do nothing. Someone who just Trump. I mean, come on, man. And then on top of that, it's he's Jeffrey Epstein's. But the best part, that was the worst, elder abuse. If you want to make this sound better, then you just say he's the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years during his most prolific sex trafficking spree on the soil of the United States of America, where he was blackmailing, politicians, congressional members, senators, Supreme Court judges, and rich folk. I mean, and Trump was adjacent to him like his best friend. I mean, that makes it better, right? That's better. That makes him kind of clever, like a criminal at that point, a clever criminal. Well, he may be that clever criminal, but he's old as fuck at this point and senile, and he can't identify a straw from a fucking suitcase. I mean, he can't point out the difference between a fucking Twinkie and a goddamn spaceship. I mean, Trump is out there, and he said, hold on, just said if he deserves punishment, it's not abuse. Yeah, but what about us? Can you spare us? God damn, why do we have to go through the abuse? I mean, that's really unfair. It's unfair. It is true though. I know what you mean. Like, it's kind of like sadomasochist elder abuse, because it's like that he's out there abusing the world, everyone else with his dementia. I mean, that's the problem. That's why we have to get him the hell out of power. I mean, he's got to go. What's up, Jess? Yeah, what's up, Eric? Michael, what's up? This man has just got to go. This man has got to go, and there's no other way to put it. But listen, every other public servant, every other publicly elected official is outdoing him on the stage. I mean, Trump makes any politician look fucking sharp. You know what I'm saying? He makes any politician. And again, if you put him up against Joe Biden, I'm sorry, Joe Biden still has his brain left. He may not have his body totally. He could stand up he could give a 10-minute speech, but he's smart enough to know when to sit his ass down. I mean, Trump, he's not smart enough to know he's going to give you a 40-hour speech about nothing, a ramble. Biden knows how to keep it short and sweet. You know what I'm saying? Be effective with words. 5 minutes. He's going to let you know Trump is a fucking loser. He's fucked up the economy. He's fucked. He's attacked our allies. He's doesn't care about the American people. He's the most corrupt leader of all American history. He's going to say that very succinctly and very quickly, and then say, "Thank you. I'm out of here. I'm back. I'm going to go back to my retirement." No, that's not Trump. Trump is going to drag his ass out there and just like never go home again. He ain't going in the house. Trump is outside, yo. He's outside with his dementia. He doesn't care. He's wandering the streets. Hello, do you know NATO Jenkins? Do you know NATO Jenkins? Trump is fucking active, boy. And he has everyone dissing him and laughing at him. Man, the day you have Iran wiping your feet with the leader of the United States of America, the most powerful nation on earth, all you have to say is that it was worth it, even for Iran. Even for Iran. Iran came up politically. They came up on the global stage. They became an example of how you fight back. Is that what you wanted to give them? You wanted to give them that opportunity to show other smaller nations how to fight back, how you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, all he did was bolster. And I'm not trying to diss Iran or anything like that, because that's different. You know, I don't like to. It's a long, complex history with the United States and Iran, so it's not fair to keep coming back to the same place and pointing a finger at people and doing this. Nah, that's lame, yo. That is lame. But they are an example. I just mean, you know, in all honesty, for me, they're an example of how to fight back, because they're not a superpower. They know you have more weapons than them. They know you have everyone else is scared of you, so that's going to work against them, right? Everyone else is going to be scared. They know that you're going to defend Israel, so they got to deal with two wars, not just fighting you directly, but they got to deal with Israel also, right? They know that no one else in the region is going to defend them. Everyone else is going to sit back and watch. I mean, they know how it is, and they just said, fuck this, man. You're not coming over here dictating shit, you know, and it doesn't matter. We will die and fight for this, because that is our honor as a people. We would not be a people if we did not stand up to you. And that's what, you know, and they're doing it while not being rich. They're not rich. They got sanctions. They're doing it. I mean, come on. Anytime you're out there developing drones that has U.S. Warships, you know, like scared to go through the Straits of Hormuz and shit. Like, come on. Like, strategically, you have been played. And yeah, and I would never take my if I was the president, I would never take my military through such a stupid ass plan, like senile ass Trump out there looking for NATO Jenkins, trying to drag NATO Jenkins to fucking war. NATO Jenkins and all his cousins and shit. You know what I'm saying? Trump doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. You know, Israel could just manipulate Trump. Like, here we go. We got us another sucker. Yay! Let's go. And they went straight to war, and Trump went out there. Well, Netanyahu was going to do it without me, and, you know, that wouldn't be good. You know, I couldn't do that. I couldn't let Netanyahu down. And Netanyahu is kicking Trump in the ass like, I don't give a fuck about you. Who are you? You just another fucking president. Fuck you. Right? I got tapes, baby. You ain't going to do nothing but bow down and kiss the ring. Kiss the ring. Jeffrey Epstein, kiss the ring. Who else got the tapes? How come the Epstein tapes aren't released? Why are the Epstein tapes not released? Don't you want to expose your political, you know, don't you want to expose your political enemies? Don't you want to do that? Don't you want to expose pedophilia? Don't you want to do that? What's in those files that could be valuable? What's left? Who's mentioned more in those files than anybody else? Who is that? You know what I mean? Is that person the president? What does that mean? What does that mean when the sitting president is mentioned more than anyone else in the files that nobody seems to fucking want to release? What does that mean? What does that mean? You think he's on tape with little kids? You think he's on tape with little boys? You think Sasha Riley was right when he said between the ages of 8, the military veteran Sasha Riley? Do you think when he said between the ages of 8 and 12, he was trafficked by Epstein and Trump sexually assaulted him on 4 different occasions as a little boy? Do you think that's on camera? Sasha Riley says it is. What do you think? Do you think Sasha Riley is a lying veteran? Or do you think Trump is a lying-ass president? If you think Trump is a lying-ass president, put a 1 in the chat. If you think Sasha Riley is a truth-telling veteran, put a 2 in the chat. I think Sasha Riley is a truth-telling veteran. Okay? I think Sasha Riley is a truth-telling veteran. I think Trump is a lying-ass president. So if you think Trump is a lying-ass president, put a 1 in the chat. I think Sasha Riley is a truth-telling veteran. He fought for our country. He went to combat, and he said some things. And because of that, his words deserve to be taken seriously. Okay? He put his life on the line for you. Okay? Exactly. Look at it. Somebody said, and why is the focus on Trump? Because Trump is hiding the Epstein files, and he's the president. That's why. Would you want me to talk about Biden? What can he do now? Don't you want us to talk about the people that are keeping them a secret right now? Oh, no. Let's talk about Obama instead, y'all. Let's do that. Let's talk about Obama. You know, why wouldn't Trump expose Obama in the Epstein files? Why wouldn't Trump expose the tapes of Clinton in the Epstein files? Why wouldn't Trump expose Biden in the Epstein files and Kamala Harris in the Epstein files? Why wouldn't he expose any other goddamn Democrat in the Epstein files? Why wouldn't he? When's he going to do it? Come on, man. Throw them under the bus. They're all the same. Yeah. Good idea. They're all the same. Let's talk about them. True. How many of the other ones are in there? Clarence Thomas. He's black. Fuck him. Let's throw him under the bus. How come he's not releasing the tapes? Who else? Who else? Aren't there plenty of other people in there? Why don't he release the tapes? Democrats and Republicans. Why is Trump saving people in the tapes? Why is he doing that? And who are you going to believe? Trump or a veteran? Who are you going to believe, Trump or a veteran? Put a 1 in the chat if you would believe Trump over a veteran. Put a 2 in the chat if you would believe a veteran over Trump. And no other answers count from here on. Put a 1 in the chat if you would believe Trump over a veteran. And put a 2 in the chat if you would believe a veteran over Trump. I'm putting a 2 in the chat. Let's see if anybody can qualify all their statements so far. Anybody believe Trump is being more honest than the veteran? Put a 1 in the chat. Also, you, Stephanie, you can answer questions also. You're not better than anybody else in the chat. So come on. What is the deal? What's the deal? 1 or 2, Steph? Let's get it going. Oh, Steph doesn't have to play the game fairly, right? Steph is better than everybody else. Steph has thought up shit better. You know, Steph just knows more than everybody else, right? None of us know nothing. Come on, Steph. Spit it out. 1 or 2. Okay, Steph, I see. You don't want to play. You don't want to be like everybody else. I get it. You're better, so you don't have to answer. Okay, Steph, we give you. Don't worry. You can stay. I'm not going to block you. Go ahead. Even though you better than everybody else. But in any case, since we know we ain't going to get anything out of the Epstein files because Trump is the president, and that's just a fact, whether you like it or not, we can at least move to some place where we can get some. Here we go. All right, Steph. There you go. So everybody else got the question stuff. So here you go. We can play that game. And 5-minute penalty. Bye for being annoying. Okay. Next time, put a 1 or a 2 like everybody else. The chat is free, but you gotta get in the game with everybody else. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Okay. It tells us a lot about your other comments if you believe Trump over a veteran. All right. So, but in any case, let's go to a place where we can actually get something done. Let's deal with some politicians that actually care about the people, right? That actually want to use tax dollars to make life easier on the everyday Joe, right? Because Stephanie, everybody can't be a millionaire like Stephanie and shit and have it good and not worry about how the taxes get used, you know? Stephanie just doesn't care. She wants it all to go to SpaceX and shit. You know what I'm saying? None of it to transport, though. So let's pay attention and let's see what they have here. Mom Donnie has just released a plan. It's supposed to be $800 million on New York City transport. I believe it's just buses alone. For people that don't know, New York City has one of the oldest transport systems in the country, right? But this is specifically buses. So this is on the road, right? What's going on here? Where's my mouse? Oh, there we go. So this is on the road, but still, how you organize it is very important to the public. And there's been talk about something else. If the public transport system worked, that means there's less harassment of everyday people, right? Because they're on the public transport system. They're not driving. They don't have to worry about getting a speeding ticket, right? When they're driving home, no matter if they never crashed before, never had an accident before, if they went over one, they don't have to go through this anymore. So I'm a fan myself of public transport. Although I'm from Washington, D.C., born and raised in Washington, D.C., my family on both sides. My father's from Washington, D.C., too. I'm born and raised. But on both sides of my family, my family goes back to the colonial period. But as a grown-ass man, I live in Copenhagen, Denmark. So I'm living in part of the world that has one of the best public transport systems, period. Full stop. Copenhagen, Denmark transport, you are getting somewhere on time. As soon as you arrive from the airport, you can be on a nice train easily, not packed downtown center of Denmark in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes from the airport straight up. You know what I mean? It's very, very efficient. You can get around Copenhagen in a half an hour, any part of Copenhagen, easily on public transport. They have the S train, which is the over the road, on top of the road train. They have the metro, which is under the ground train, and they have the bus system as well. They have the bus system, and then they have the regional trains that go outside of the main city, right, to other parts of the country, right? So the buses do go to the suburbs too, but the regional train goes even further. It will just take you across the country, right? So I like that. I've lived here for a while, so I appreciate it. But also, I decided to start using public transport enough. I still have a parking space, right? I used to drive, a lot, but I got rid of my car because it just got more expensive in Copenhagen and more of a challenge. But the main reason why I got rid of it, maybe I'll get one in the future, right? I still got my parking space and everything. But the main reason why I got rid of it, to be honest with you, and I never talk about this, was because, to be honest, I got tired of being stopped by the fucking police. I felt like I was being targeted just too much, just at random. Like, see this guy driving, stop him. Give him anything we see, anything, ticket, boom, 5,000 krona, every time. And I really felt like that. And I have a lot of Danish friends. Most of my friends are Danish, right? Born and raised in Denmark, right? You see what I'm saying? And drive also. And the ones that were Danish, they all kept telling me, they didn't give you a warning? Like, you've never gotten a warning? Like, every time I got stopped is for a different thing. And every time I got stopped, it's for something my Danish friends would get stopped for. And they said, it's your first time and you've never gotten a warning. I've never gotten a warning from the Danish police at all. I've only gotten tickets every time I've been stopped. And I'm not the type of person to complain or anything like that. I went to court for one of them because they tried. I had a witness this time. That was great because someone was in my passenger seat. My buddy, who's a master electrician, right? He was doing some work in my place. So I was taking him home. It's just hanging out for the day. But he was able to, we could have some coffee and some morning bread and stuff like that while he did some things in my apartment, right? And so I took him home. Just a regular day. Just two guys that work for a living. Had to have families. I helped him paint his flat. He helped me do some wiring in my flat. Very simple morning. Doing what you're supposed to do, what normal people do, right? When you're off from work on the weekend and you want to help your buddy and visit his family and vice versa, right? So I went to court. I had a lawyer. I had a witness. But I'm going to tell you, after the first day we went there, they weren't trying to say, the police tried to say I ran a red light. Again, they didn't give me a warning. There was no traffic. No one was hurt. There was no collision. No one got ran over. But when I pulled out into the street, the police were behind me. I saw the police. I knew the police were behind me. But, okay, the police are behind me. I'm driving. I go down the street and I'm about to make a left turn and there's a bicycle, right? So the guy started looking like he was, getting a little too close, right? He was trying to speed up before I could go, he was speeding. So I actually slowed down for him. So I'm in the intersection, right? In yellow between when the light changes. I'm in the intersection, right? The guy goes and I continue to make a left, right? And they said that I ran a red light. You see? So, but they didn't stop me right then. When they saw me run the red light, I went to the next red light and stopped and waited for the light to turn green. They were still behind me. And then the light turned green and then I started driving and then they pulled me over and they said I ran the light before. You see what I'm saying? So I was like, what are they talking about? Like, what are they talking about? Ran the light. I didn't run the light. I'm being safe. You're supposed to get a reward for being safe. You're supposed to get a pat on the back for not doing something reckless, right? You're supposed to care. Number one, you're not supposed to run over a bicycle or a person, right? And it's almost like they didn't see the bicyclist. It's almost like they didn't care, right? So, I was like, so I went to court. and they lied in the courtroom. And right when the police officer lied, and I saw the attorney for the police officer tried to push this lie, right? Because I remembered everything about it. They didn't even try to mention the bicyclist, nothing like that. You know, they said it so I would have to come back a second day, right? They set a second court date, you know, to come back after we had testimony, and then my friend was going to testify. So he showed up the second day, and you know what? I didn't even show up because I was so triggered. I was like, man, fuck this. You know, I'm not going through this bullshit. Just pay the fine and fuck it, get on with my business. I should have went back because in Danish law, 2 against 2 means null and void. Very simple. 2 officers against 2 witnesses. Nobody was hurt. He's trying to give me a ticket for running a light. They're saying one thing that 2 officers said things that didn't match up. You see what I'm saying? But I actually didn't go back because I was triggered. But I just kind of felt like another time I got pulled over. I'm with my buddy on the weekend. We only have weekend working people, only have people that work full time, only have the weekend to spend time with their friends and their families. Went out with my buddy and his son. And my son, we're driving, headed, doing some fun activities on the weekend. I asked my buddy before he puts his son in my car, are you sure your son is tall enough to ride without the child seat? Because my son had to sit in one, but my son was a little shorter than him. So, you know, and he was like, yeah, man, I ride with my son all the time without the child seat. He's big enough now. We don't use it. So we get in the car. We're driving. We're just having our fun on the weekend. And I have the most weirdest stop by the police. This is how it starts. I see some flashing light, not a siren, not a blue and red light, or anything like that. Just kind of like a white light, vaguely in my side mirror. And I'm like, damn it. I asked my buddy, you see that? Like, is there something? Is that what's going on? I'm seeing some kind of like light, just, you know. And every time I look, I don't see the light anymore. And then so nothing happens. Then we drive a little bit more. And all of a sudden, I see a little light again. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I don't see anything. Nothing. There's nothing there. There's no police car there. Nothing, right? Drive some more. Then it's all of a sudden a light again. Like, I'm like, what the hell is going on? I keep seeing some kind of little light in the side mirror. Like, just, you know, when the light gets a little too bright, I thought maybe it's the sun or maybe it's a reflection from something else, right? And nothing. And then all of a sudden, it happened again, and then there were some sirens, right? So that means there was some police following me for a long time. This was happening for like 4 or 5 minutes because we were in traffic. You see what I'm saying? This stopped. This was, you know, we were in slow traffic. This went on for a long time. So finally, they pull up on the side and they stop me and they asked us to get out, right? And check. You know, first they're like, check, can I see your driver's license? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, here you go. And so it took a while, but then they said the boy is too small to drive without a seat. And I said, oh, okay, I didn't know that. My son has a seat, but my buddy's, his son, he said his son is tall enough, you know, that he drives like this all the time. He said he's been stopped by the police and never got in the ticket. So why would I not believe him? My son is smaller than him. What should I do? Should I pull out a measuring thing and measure him? Right. You know, so I was totally a loss with it. I didn't understand, you know, because I'm like, OK, what's going on? So they take him out and they stand him next to the police officer. And he said, if the kid was the right size, he should be right up here near my shoulder or something like that. And I was like, OK, but, you know, do you have a ruler? Because you're giving me a ticket and you know, you're giving me a ticket for a traffic violation, but you don't actually have any measuring stick. So they gave the ruler, they did it anyway. Long story short, I think, yeah, I ended up going through some litigation with them or whatever, but in the court, right? We went to court, right? And they give me the ticket. It turns out that he was just like, just a little bit shorter than the actual rule. They measured him, right? You know, they measured the boy later a little bit, just like it. He just barely didn't make that height. But the point is, how am I supposed to look at him and see that? How am I supposed to? And on top of it, he's with his father who said he was, and that I know this guy's not lying to me. This guy's Danish. He's like, man, that was the weirdest thing I ever seen, man. I've been stopped by the police. My son's been without this seat. They've never given me a ticket. So After a while, I decided public transport is better for me because although I'm a safe driver, never been in an accident, never ran anybody over. I've never been in an accident my entire life driving. You see what I mean? Never really been pulled over by the police in my hometown in Washington, D.C. driving. That's how safe I drive. I'm not a crazy driver. I drive safe, right? And I like driving safe because, why not? That's the best way to drive. But I just got tired of it. I was like, man, fuck this. I don't have 5,000 kroner to keep giving out for these tiny things. And at no point will they ever say, you know what? It's your first time. Understand it's not actually really your fault. We could see that you're not a lunatic. We could see that your friend said this and that it's his son. So we're not going to give you a ticket. We're going to give you a warning. Next time, measure the other child in the car, even if you're with his father and his father says that, to avoid the ticket. I never got that kind of treatment. I'm not saying I got mean treatment, but I just never got the benefit of the doubt ever. So I just said, fuck this. I ain't got money to spend. I have kids too. That's 5,000 kroner. I'm supposed to be spending on something else. You know what I mean? So I stopped. I got rid of my car. I was like, I'm not, I got rid of the car because of that. And because, of course, if you want to get a newer car, that's another investment. And I live in a place where the public transport runs great. So I just said, you know what? Let me hold off on the car because that's surely just going to mean more tickets. Definitely, no matter what. I'm going to get, if I do nothing, I'm going to get a goddamn ticket and I'm going to be stopped. Why? Because of how I look. I'm just going to say it like that. I don't look like a typical day. There it is. So somebody might notice me more doing something. That's all. Just doing the same shit everybody else is doing, but it stands out. You notice it. Yeah. That's how it works. If you have 5 walls, if you have 5 anything standing up in front of you in a store and they're all white and there's one of them happens to be a black color, your eye is going to go to the black one. That's how life is. That's how animals work. You notice the one that stands out the most. That's the one you're going to confront because you noticed them first. So I just said, fuck it. That's how it works. Then I'm just going to stay out of it. I'm not going to put myself out there. And plus, driving in the city is annoying. I never really drove every day. I still use the public transport. But on the weekends, I like to drive. But, I like to do things like that. But I said, fuck this, man. I'm going to avoid it now. I'm going to do something else, make other arrangements. Now, when I drive outside of Denmark, never been stopped. Anywhere else, never been stopped. If I was stopped and treated nicely. It had nothing to do with me to stop, just some random shit about safety or something else, or they're checking for people. Maybe there's somebody was, maybe they're checking just some random reasons. Right. But for being in Denmark for a certain amount of time, I've been stopped more times in Denmark driving my car than I've ever been stopped in my entire fucking life. And I just got tired of it. You see what I mean? And I got tired of fucking explaining it. And I don't even want to explain it anymore. It's just like, you can debate it all you want. I ain't got time for it. Sorry. Don't have time. I don't even have time to waste anymore. If you think that that's not what happened, fair enough. Let me go be progressive in an area where I won't be fined all the fucking time. You know what I mean? So I get my ass on the train, on the metro, and that gets me to work just fine. I don't like having to worry about where to park. Parking could be a problem in Copenhagen, and all of that. So it's actually cheaper taking public transport, and the public transport is better. But having said that, New York City seems to have a lot of people like me. Hold on, my mouse is having an issue. Let me just plug it in real quick. Is it this one? Yeah, here we go. New York City has a lot of people like me. They're tired of getting stopped by the goddamn police just for trying to go to work or try to do some weekend activity with their families. And so I heard people talking about this when Mom Donnie was talking about improving the transport system. Like, yeah, it's going to reduce public fines, traffic tickets by the police, and people, right wingers, are like, man, that's going to affect the economy. Like, come on, you're not supposed to be running your economy based on traffic tickets. Like, what the hell is that? That's literally saying you're going to run your economy based on goddamn leeching off of the public you're actually supposed to help. You know, so here we go.
And I want to acknowledge that we are here joined by a number of leaders at every level of government. We have our Governor, Kathy Hochul, who is joining us today. Our MTA Chair, Jano Lieber. Our City Council Transportation Chair, Sean Abreu. As you've heard from our Deputy Mayor for Operations, Julia Curson. Our DOT Commissioner, Mike Flynn. Our NYPD Transportation Chief, Obi. And we have from Riders Alliance, Betsy Plum and Andrea Alballeros Abdullah. And I also want to acknowledge our Borough President of Manhattan, Brad Hoylman Siegel. Council members Alexa Aviles and Amanda Farias. And our Brooklyn Deputy Borough President, Kim Council. Let's give them a round of applause. It is such a pleasure to be here alongside all of them as we come together to make an announcement that speaks to a singular truth that every person who calls our city home knows. In New York City, time is money. And we are going to give New Yorkers some of that time back. 6 minutes, to be precise. So to illustrate what 6 minutes saved really means, I have decided to keep the rest of my speech to 6 minutes exactly. We're going to use this stopwatch to show that the clock starts now. Now, for decade after decade, the working people of our city who rely on the bus have had their precious time treated with disdain. New York's bus system carries more riders than America's next 4 largest bus systems combined. And those riders commute on the slowest buses in the nation, many of which crawl at an average of 5 miles per hour. Too many New Yorkers walk faster to the bus stop than the bus they finally get on actually travels. Too many lives are planned around delays and commutes. Too many communities have demanded better. A devoted 34th Street busway, a redesign of Fordham Road in the Bronx, a rapid bus corridor down Flatbush Avenue. And yet, despite all of the work of so many that are here and even beyond this event, they have found that their voices have been ignored by those who can deliver change. That ends today. Our streets are public spaces. How we design them reflects who we believe they are for. Today, we make a decision that puts working New Yorkers first. Now, I am proud to stand alongside Governor Kathy Hochul this morning as we launch our bus action plan, Next Stop. This historic investment will make our buses faster and more reliable for millions of New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. The Department of Transportation will work in partnership with the MTA to transform 50 priority bus routes citywide, some of which are currently the slowest in the city, many of which serve neighborhoods with few other transit options, and all of which deserve better. Now, here in Brooklyn, we will deliver the first of 5 rapid bus corridors by 2030 on Flatbush Avenue. Now, Flatbush Avenue is a corridor used by more than 130,000 riders every day, but slowed by some of the city's worst gridlock. The first phase of Flatbush is already underway and includes center-running bus lanes and new bus boarding islands. Future phases of the project include fully separated bus lanes, stations with level boarding, and fast, frequent service guaranteed. Now, Flatbush is only the beginning. Northern Boulevard in Queens, 116th Street in Manhattan, White Plains Road in the Bronx, Utica and Church Avenues in Brooklyn, Victory Boulevard on Staten Island. These streets and dozens of other routes across the 5 boroughs will receive dedicated rapid service and infrastructure improvements that finally put riders first. Part of that means changing how buses stop and start with transit signal priority, queue jumps, and yes, all-door boarding.
Yo, and actually, you know something? Let me tell you how the buses work here. In Denmark, it is all door boarding. The back door, the middle door, the any other door, right? It's all boarding. Yo, RMX, why don't you hop up on the panel and don't be afraid to show people how intelligent you are. You know, speak. If you can speak English, hop on up on the panel. Teach us something, right? And but let people know how you sound too, because maybe you're not American. You know what I mean? Maybe you're just pretending to be. So not that you have to be, but you know, if you disagree with him, you're probably an American, right? Because why would you disagree so much when every other Western nation has better transport system than the U.S.? What the fuck? Well, then hop on up. Look at this. He's a troll. He got how many accounts? You know what I'm saying? Listen, hop on up, man. There you go. Let me put it the link in the chat again. Come on, explain to us more than a simple thought a child could explain. Here you go. You know what I'm saying? Here you go. So there you have it.
Explain to me that I'm a New Yorker. Explain to me how you would want to go about this.
He hasn't even listened to the speech. So he doesn't even know what he's going to say. But I could say this. I heard something that he just said, right? And he said all door, access. Like you can get on all door boarding. And in Denmark, it is all door boarding too. You don't show your ticket really when you get on the bus in Denmark. You get on the bus. They're expecting that you have paid for the ticket on your mobile phone, or you bought a monthly ticket in advance. And that's what you do. So the guy at the door, it's not his job to police people. If you're doing something outrageous, then he might say, the driver or she might say something, right? But checking tickets is not the driver's job. That's removed from the whole equation. And that actually makes it safer for the driver, right? It's other people that come in and check for tickets from time to time, right? You have what you call ticket checkers, and they're the ones who spend their time doing that. The driver's job is 100% drive the bus safely. That's their job. They're not an expert ticket checker. You see what I mean? So, you wanted to say more about this? What do you think offhand, man? Come on.
Well, you know what's crazy is
you're a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker, as you said, right? Yeah.
Out of the 5 places he mentioned, I lived in 3 of those areas, and I lived near one of the areas that he mentioned. So, he mentioned Utica, Crown Heights. He mentioned Flatbush. Flatbush is where I grew up for 25 years of my life. I know exactly what he's talking about. Fordham. I moved to Fordham. I moved to the Bronx.
Oh yeah, Fordham.
So I know exactly.
You lived up there too. Damn.
Every area.
Okay.
So I lived in every, and the reason why is because those particular areas are very dense, but they don't have between the areas. They don't have as many train routes throughout it. So you'll get to a train station, and then to get throughout the neighborhood, you need bus access, or you would essentially have to wait for a bus. And so the rapid bus, notice how he's specifically speaking about rapid bus in that part of the plan, is because those areas would benefit so much more with a rapid bus system, in terms of how frequent these buses come and the timing that they come. So, that infrastructure is well needed. The only thing is, everyone obviously in New York should expect a lot more crackdown on fare evasion. So fare evasion is pretty big in New York City overall. I think like 1 in every 5 or 4 rides, someone evades the fare.
Okay.
And so that's a big thing. And it's because of how frequent, the infrastructure, the frustration, and also affordability. So, along with this plan, I think the plan is great so far because I've reviewed it myself. I think the next step, hopefully, eventually in the near term, would be expanding what's called the Fares Fair Act, which allows for affordable or half-fare fares for individuals who are making under a certain amount of an income limit. So I think that's more so, even with the plans to better the infrastructure of New York City's trains, because they're well overdue. So MTA is our transit system, Metropolitan Transit Authority,
right?
Transit Authority is what those acronyms mean, and they've mismanaged a lot of their money. So prior to a few administrations, I think it goes back to de Blasio, which is about maybe we're talking 8+ years ago. they weren't transparent with their budget. So a lot of waste was going alongside in New York City when it came to MTA. A lot of unfinished projects, right?
Yeah.
And the city essentially let it function separately because the city manages it for the most part. And so they let them function autonomously, but that didn't work clearly. They were increasing the budget year over year by billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars into the billions. And so now I'm hoping obviously with this infrastructure plan there is a bit more accountability when it comes to the overall structure of spending when it comes to the MTA,
Uh
because
huh.
that's also been a frustration when it comes to how they spend the money. But overall, it's a great plan, and it's meant to over time obviously increase the infrastructure of the city, which of the city transit, which has been neglected for many years, many years. A lot of these plans um, were delayed, right, because MTA has played a lot of games,
Okay.
but obviously he's allocating more in terms of the budget, but I'm assuming that with that budget comes a lot more accountability. And if I'm not mistaken, he's already put a task force together for all city agencies to be reviewed on a semi-annual basis in terms of how they're using the budget, which is he's the first mayor to ever do that. A lot of
Okay.
prior mayors like Adams, who was our former mayor before Mamdani, he actually was found to be placing people with no experience because they personally knew him into position. So that was a whole big
Yeah,
thing.
favoritism. It's corruption, bro.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
like
yeah,
what
Blaine,
Trump is
it was,
doing.
yeah,
It's just like what
it
Trump is
wasn't even,
doing, right?
yes, exactly. It's exactly
Cronyism.
what Trump was
Just
doing.
putting people in
Yes,
position that shouldn't be there. They haven't earned it, and they don't have
yeah,
background in it, and they don't have goals really. It's just to give them a job.
exactly.
Favoritism. Yeah. Yeah.
So he was guilty of that
Yeah.
in terms of just, and again it was worse because it's not like in other agencies, because other mayors have done it before. Maybe they'll select a lower level individual who has worked within that system, but Mayor Adams was putting in people who had absolutely no experience at all. One of the women he was sleeping with, who was significantly younger, um, essentially had no experience, but jumped to a pay raise and a job that included a pay raise of $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so things like that is where the city mismanaged a lot of its budgets, right? And so now with this infrastructure bill, it really is to improve the infrastructure, improve timing with the especially with the bus system, and hopefully it leads to eventually reduce fares for people. Expand the reduced fare program is really, as a New Yorker, what I would also advocate for. I'm sure they know the logistics and what that would mean. MTA does run at a deficit, so it doesn't run for profit, because a lot of it has been diminished with fare evasion, and also fare evasion and a lot of reduced riding. So since COVID, we still haven't reached our peak of ridership as we did, the same ridership as we did when COVID was around. So COVID killed a lot of people's trust in just public transit. So
Yeah.
MTA has been doing the most to try to gain more riders. Right. This is also in combination with um, a few other acts. So we have a congestion tax. So if you're riding into the city in particular, Manhattan, between the hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., you pay an additional tax of $9 for every entry. So every time you enter the city within a car under a certain number, so the grid is from 1 to, let's say, 64th. Well, 64th, from the 1st to the 64th street in Manhattan. If you enter in between those blocks, which is the most convenient way to enter the city,
Yeah.
You would have to pay a $9 entry fee into the city. So it's plans like that. So the infrastructure is a bit more nuanced because
Yeah.
that in combination with something like this infrastructure directly for MTA essentially has riders consider, right? Like if you have a car, do you want to pay $18 or plus depending on how often you're coming in and out the city on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Do you want to pay that to enter the city? And if not, then maybe you want to consider riding the train. It goes alongside some other green initiatives. So New York City really has been trying to switch over to a green initiative, right?
Right.
More public transportation. They've been reducing parking spaces, right, which has angered a bunch of Republicans and
They
some
want to
sections
park
that,
for
but
free.
Democrats in general.
They want to park for free.
Yeah, they just want more because Manhattan, I will tell you this flat out, it is one of the worst places to find parking, with cleaning restrictions, with, business restrictions. It is very difficult
And
and you end up paying.
but check this out.
Go ahead, man.
Why not make a public transport system that works for even the rich, so they can ride the train with everybody else and have a nice
Well,
train
that's
ride
the whole
together?
thing. Celebrities,
Wouldn't that get them to
celebrities are
work faster?
notorious. So the celebrities are notorious for riding the train in New York City.
Yeah, why not?
I've
You know what I'm
spotted
saying?
plenty of millionaire celebrities who actors, former governors. I've seen them all on the New York
Yo,
City transit system.
yo, dude,
So
you will in Denmark, you will likely to see politicians riding the public transport system, bro. Like I've seen it myself, and I've been shocked. Of course, they don't always do that. Maybe, but you're likely to see it because number one, it works well, right? But number two,
Yeah.
shouldn't the public isn't a public servant a person that gets paid by the tax people, by taxes, by everyone? It's the people that pay the representatives, right? Shouldn't they have just as good value of life, quality of life? Shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Like, and shouldn't the transport system be good enough for the representative?
Of course.
They get public funds for themselves to have a life. Why not have a public transport system that's good for everybody? I mean, that's the part I don't understand. When did it get to the part where public servants, elected officials that get taxpayer money, that the standard is supposed to be they live better than the average person in the public? That their standard of living is better. When did it get there?
I mean, wealth inequality, right? It happens in other, especially in America, where they cut off public beaches. A lot of, that has happened throughout America, especially as wealth inequality grows. It has limited the rights and the funding to a lot of public spaces, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you should have to. I'm just saying, but shouldn't it be done in a way that it's that it works so good and it's so comfortable and it's so efficient that it works just as good as your private luxury vehicle?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
why can't you do it like that? I'm serious. I'm not joking because it's public tax dollars.
Trust me. This is, in New York City, we thrive off that. Like our public transportation system, obviously I'm giving some outliers, but it is extremely efficient. I've been to a few other states,
true.
And have tried their public transportation. Nothing compares. Our transportation system runs 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And even on like the latest, it runs 24 hours.
Yep.
Right? You can catch a train 24 hours a day. There's no, yes, it will be less frequent, obviously, because there's less riders at that time.
Right.
But overall,
but it does work
amazing.
at night. You can move yourself around New York at night. It's almost even better at night, right? And then rush hour.
Yeah,
Fuck rush hour.
Emptier, it's calmer. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's true. You can get around once you close enough. I think you can get around. I've been on the metro. I never had any complaints. You get around, and that's a big area to get around. If you're going from East New York to the Bronx, like you said, Fulton Avenue, you can do that. Driving that in the daytime with traffic, bro, you might not want to do that, right? So the train would be faster. All right, so let's hear some more about. You want to say one more thing real quick? I just want to hear.
I mean, the plan is pretty great.
Okay.
I'm for it. I hope he expands the Fares Act, and it's a W for New York City.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hear some more. I'm coming from DC. Our public transport is kind of like it's not just the public transport. It's the transport planning. Our planning was always behind. So DC got bottleneck fucking traffic at rush hour times, period. You can't get any fucking where in your car. It's almost better to just avoid rush hour in DC, man. Look, DC's not a big city. You're supposed to you're supposed to be able to drive across it and, in a decent time in like 15, 20 minutes from one side to the next. If you know what you're doing, if you know the routes, you can get, because DC got highways. You see what I mean? You can go from the east side. There's a highway. The distance is not far from east to west, from southeast to Georgetown. There's a highway. But because of the bottleneck traffic on that highway and the poor city planning in terms of like the buses too, you know what I mean? No bus lane, bro. So the buses can't even get through. They're trying to add it now, but they should have added it a long time ago, But between New York and DC, in terms of the value of the public transport system, I would say DC has less people, right? New York has more people. DC,
it's a lot shorter. DC is a lot shorter. The lines are a lot shorter too.
Yeah. But when you get on a bus and you're a parent with a child, you have to clap your wagon. You might have some things in the wagon that you have to take out to clap your wagon. There's no, it's a little more complex. In Denmark, maybe there's more buses, and nobody has to clap their wagon to get on the, no, parents don't do that in Denmark. You just bring your wagon fully done up into the bus. Right. I just think we in the States, we didn't put the public number one, bro. If we put the public number one, as if we said, these are the taxpayers that pay our salary. Without these taxpayers, our government won't function. We need their money. We need their life to function efficiently so they can continue to fund the government. So how do you do that? You make sure they can get from point A to point B fast so they can spend less time, being stuck in traffic on the weekends, so they can spend less time being stuck in traffic on the work days, so they can spend more time with their families, so that they can feel fresh at work and do it again and again and again and again. Right. It doesn't seem like we did that. We were kind of like, some of the people can have luxury. You can make enough to have a fancy car, and then you don't need the public transport to be that great, and no public bus lanes. But in a place like DC, no, guy, it's like we caught on late to the idea of bike lanes, public bus lanes, just public transport. Even though, I don't want to harp in on DC, but I'm comparing it to Denmark. You know what I mean? Like Denmark, seriously, everything in Copenhagen is public transport. It is set up for public transport. If you live in Copenhagen, the city, and that's the size of Washington, D.C., you do not need a car, period. You don't need a car to experience Copenhagen at all. You're going to have a good old time. You see what I mean? You can take the train right down to the harbor with your beach towel, go swimming in the harbor, take your lunch with you and a bottle of wine or whatever you want, some fruit, your lunch, and go right down to the harbor with everybody else, jump in the clean water in the harbor. This ain't DC. Nobody jumping in the fucking Potomac to swim. It's too dirty. Then you can get out of the water, go home. Seriously, bro. I'm not bullshitting. And you can get home on the train and you'll be back at home in 20 fucking minutes, 30 minutes. 15 minutes for some people. For me, I would be back home 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Just taking the metro right to the harbor. Not just one harbor. Which one do I want to go to? Do I want to go to Nordhavn? Do I want to go to the one at Fiskertor? Do I want to go to the one, or I could take the train and go out to the beach further in towards Charlottenlund, right? I can just take the S train out there. That might take a half an hour, but I could go there if I want to do not do the harbor, but do the beach style thing. You know, public transport, people are taking public transport to the damn beach. You know what I'm saying? Every fucking day, or the harbor and swimming. You know, we don't seem to, you know, have it like that. New York, are people swimming in the Hound? Are people swimming in the harbor? In the water?
Hudson River? Oh, hell no.
Look at that.
I mean, we have beaches, but we would never swim in like the main harbor, the main river, which would be Hudson River. Hell no.
Yeah.
But we are modeling a lot after Euro. So the inspiration for the infrastructure plan was a European style.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, if you want to compare the Potomac River, the Anacostia River, to the fucking Hound, to Nordhound in Copenhagen, one of them is way more cleaner than the other. I'm just going to tell you, nobody's thinking about swimming in the fucking Anacostia River. You know, pollution. You know, they can't even make it safe for the goddamn fish. I mean, people fish there, but technically, there's warnings. The water is still contaminated. Look at the reflecting pool. Where do you think that water and that algae comes from? It comes from the Potomac. They use Potomac water. So would you swim? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It seems like we have, Anacostia, what's up? Yeah. Oh, but it's beautiful. The park is wonderful. If you have a boat, that's a different thing. You don't have to swim. But look, if you go out, let's say you go to the bay. Let's say you go to the bay to not Baltimore, but I'm talking about the Chesapeake Bay, right? You could take your boat out in Chesapeake Bay. I remember when I was young, and you could swim as a kid out in the. If you have a boat, you can go out deep in the water. People go crabbing out there, and you could swim. Put on your life vest or whatever, and swim out there in the goddamn bay. But you ain't doing that in the Anacostia River. you ain't doing that in the Potomac River. It's just they don't even think that way. But in any case, enough about that. Let's hear some more. Let's hear some more. I just wanted to highlight the fact that the public transport system, how it can be used, you know, more efficiently, and you know, you can make whatever else you want out of it.
These improvements may sound technical, but they deliver change that is anything but. Less waiting, faster trips, and buses that arrive when they're supposed to. We are also making sure that bus lanes stay clear. By 2028, all 50 corridors will have automated camera enforcement because these lanes should do exactly what their name promises. They should be for buses. Now, we are not just improving our bus lanes, we are improving our buses too. The MTA will replace 40% of our aging fleet with 2,500 brand new vehicles.
What's up, Lisa?
Taken together, these investments will increase speeds along our 50 priority corridors by 20% on average. That means riders will save up to 6 minutes every trip, up to 12 minutes every commute. I'm just going to check we have 1 minute and 53 seconds left for me to hit this goal. Now, if you take the bus to work, that adds up fast. Within 6 months, you will have spent 24 fewer hours on the bus. By the time a year rolls around, you'll have saved more than 2 days of commuting time. That means breakfast with your family.
Oh, okay. Wait a second. This is the important part here. You know, just so people get this, because this stuff makes a difference. Look, when you're a taxpayer, your quality of life, when you work, and I'm not suggesting that people that are unemployed shouldn't have this opportunity too, but when you work and when you have children, time is of the essence. You know, anytime something doesn't work, it's taking away time from your family, like straight up, in the quality of life from your home time with your kids, with your loved ones. And that after a while, that eats at you. You know, you might think a couple of hours may not matter, but look, Americans work for a full work week. Full-time work is 40 hours in the US, right? Is that what it is? Mike, I think it's 40 hours, right? 40 hours a week. It was like that in DC for a while. Maybe it changed.
It's 40 hours. It's 40 hours. Full-time is 40 hours.
Right. In Denmark, it's 37 hours. It's full-time. If you work at nighttime, it's even less. full time. You see what I'm saying? So so I work at nighttime, right?
amazing.
So yeah, because so at the end of the week, that's a whole damn look. 3 hours a day you saving. You work less. 3 hours a day for full time benefits, right? That's 3 hours a day. By the end of the week, that's 6. That's 9. That's 12. That's 15. That's 50. Am I getting this right? That's 15 hours more.
Yeah,
Bro.
yeah.
Imagine 15 hours off. You just every single week. You got 15 a month. 15, that's 30. That's 60 hours more. That's almost 3 days a month, bro. That is
Wow.
and then the transport works. And you're not wasting time on the transport. That's the life in Copenhagen. You go to New York, 40 hours of work, so you get 60 hours less to your free time just from the work, just from working a week. That's your lifestyle. And then the transportation system, public transport, is going to hold you up. Yo, I'm just sorry. It's like 3 hours a week, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know what you mean, Winter. What's up, Six Amelia? What's up, Winter? What's up, everybody? Sorry, I didn't shout everybody out. Lisa, what's up? Lisa, what's up? Aggravated. Yeah, you talk about Anacostia. Yeah, Anacostia, straight up. Agent Smith, I see you in the chat. Big up to you also. Yeah, we taking it slow today, but look, it is true. Look, I mean, those numbers are real. 3 hours, let's say 3. Yeah, something like that. Maybe it's a little like, I don't know. I know how much it is for me. It's like 33 hours a week is 33 hours a week is what I'm doing. Right. Yeah. Huh?
I said, "Wow, that's amazing."
Yeah. Cause I work in the nighttime
That's amazing.
primarily. Yeah. I only work in the daytime when it's an emergency, but I work nighttime primarily. So I work 33 hours a week. It's slightly under that. It's maybe like 32 something, right? But in any case, I'm always working more than I'm technically needed to because of the type of job I have anyway. It just requires that. It is the way it works. But what I'm saying is that overall, in terms of the quality of life, my health is very good. My health is good. Why? Because I'm not being stressed out by I mean, don't get me wrong. I work. I push myself. I'm very active. I'm working more hours than I'm required to often, right? But the thing is that I'm still in good health. When you add those couple of hours up every single day, and then you compound them by the month, then you compound them by the year, then you compound them by the decade, your body is more worn down than mine. Your physical health is more at risk than mine. Like straight up, I'm just telling you, straight up, my physical body is getting more rest time. My train of thought, my mind is more at rest. I'm getting healthy amounts of rest. Even though I push myself, I'm still getting rest. Another question. How many hours do you get? Does the average American get sleep time? Like, I don't get that much, but I have a pretty decent job. So, I just kind of, it's by choice for me, the way I push myself. But what I'm saying is that how many hours a day do you get to sleep? You know what I'm saying? In reality, how many hours are you sleeping? Because if you work 40 hours a week, right? How many hours do you sleep a day? I'm just curious about that. Is it what the doctor says it's supposed to be? I mean, in terms of what a healthy person is required, or is it not? And how long does that go on before it has adverse health effects? The Americans live less. They live a shorter life than other Western people. It's very simple. You live a shorter life. There's reasons for that. Right. So, it has something to do with the quality of life, and public transport plays into that. Time, how efficient the public transport is, plays into that. How much time you spend waiting at a bus stop or transporting yourself across the city to work every day and back home, that counts. How many hours you work a week counts. Right. I mean, it adds up. Now, let me ask you, I'm going to ask a question. If you could get the same salary you have right now, right? The same salary, the same benefits you have right now, but you could work, let's say, 13 hours a week less. Would you take it? Put a 1 in the chat if you would take it. Put a 2 in the chat if you wouldn't. And if you wouldn't, explain why not. I'm curious about that. Somebody asked me to show the stats on that. Yeah, I could put the stats up, but still answer my question. I'm gonna pull up the stats right now. Answer the question. Put a 1 in the chat if you could keep your same salary and benefits and work 13 hours less a week. Put a 1 in the chat if you take it. Put a 2 in the chat and not and explain why if you don't. If you put a 2, explain why. Now let's pull up the data. Since somebody asked, that's what we do here. Let me see here. What is the difference in full-time work benefits in Denmark and the USA, and what constitutes a full-time job to get those benefits? Right? So I'm going to pull it up right now. Boom, boom, boom. Let me see here. I mean, this is common. This should be common knowledge. Legacy media doesn't go through it, but it is for people that care about the world they live in and want to know how well their life actually is. The only way you can do it is by comparing it to other people close to you in the Western world. That's how you know how well you have it, your own rights. You know what I'm saying? If you don't compare it to someone else, you don't know how good is, and you don't know how bad is. So here we go. Let's look at this. All right. The difference in full-time work benefits between Denmark and the United States comes down to a fundamental clash of philosophies. So right off the bat, your philosophy is different. Okay. In the U.S. than Denmark. Different philosophy. All right. That's an important thing to remember, because you're not going to get the same result with a different philosophy is designed to get a different result. That's the only point in having a different philosophy, right? Denmark relies on universal state mandated or union negotiated protections, whereas the U.S. relies heavily on employer discretionary benefits and has very few federal mandates. Here's the breakdown of what constitutes full-time work in both countries and how their benefits compare. Same thing with Denmark. I like comparing the data because I don't want Danes to go down the road that the U.S. did. So the only way you're going to make sure you don't make that mistake is by doing what? Not fucking falling for it. OK, you might get something worse. Don't ever forget. Life is harder in the U.S. for the average person. Don't ever forget that if you're a Dane. And it does come down to these rights. OK, so let's see here. Is there more data? Yeah. OK, so part of this you won't be able to see, but I'm going to read it, right? And it's the part where it says what constitutes full-time work, right? Now, country, right? Denmark, 37 hours per week. This is the standard. This standard is established nationwide through collective bargaining agreements rather than a strict federal law. So this is what the unions collectively agreed to and bargained with the state, with the government. All right. United States, 35 to 40 hours per week. OK, so that's different. I didn't know that. The Bureau of Labor Statistics. I'm sorry, you can't see this part, but I'm going to read it. The Bureau of Labor Statistics defines full time as 35 plus hours. However, the Affordable Health Care Act defines it as 30 plus hours per week or 130 hours a month strictly for health care purposes. So Denmark doesn't have that because even if you don't work, you still have health care. All right. All right. So now let me pull it back so you can see everything. All right. Yeah, because it's just formatted differently. So comparing full-time benefits, paid time off, PTO, and vacation. Denmark legally mandates 5 weeks, 25 days of paid vacation per year for everyone, accrued at 2.08 days per month. Many union agreements add a 6-week. Taking your vacation is highly encouraged and culturally enforced. Right? Culturally enforced. It means you must use your vacation. after a certain amount of time, it can be taken from you if you don't use it. They want, it connects with your health pretty much, So, yeah. Now let's see here. United States, 0 days mandated. The U.S. is the only advanced economy with no federal requirement for paid vacation. While most professional full-time jobs offer 10 to 20 days of PTO as an incentive, it is entirely at the employer's discretion. Healthcare. Denmark, universal healthcare is funded through income taxes. Your health coverage is completely decoupled from your job. Your job has nothing to do with your healthcare. Your employer doesn't carry the burden of your health care. If you get sick, he doesn't carry the burden of your hospital fee, your doctor fee. If you get a heart attack, it's not the employer's fee, responsibility to cover it. It's already covered through your taxes, right? Because why? Everybody needs health care. That's why. So whether you're employed or not, that's why. Now, whether you work 40 hours, 10 hours, or unemployed, you have the same high quality access to doctors and hospitals in Denmark. Some companies offer private supplemental insurance as a minor perk. Yeah, that's also there too. That might cost you between $50, maybe $20 to $50 a month, some supplemental insurance in Denmark. United States, tied heavily to employment. Under the ACA, business with 50 or more full-time employees are legally required to offer affordable health care insurance to face tax penalties. That's interesting. Employees usually still have to pay premiums, deductibles, and co-pays out of pocket. Parental leave. Denmark, parents are collectively entitled to 52 weeks of paid parental leave, funded largely by the state and supplemented by employers. Expectant. So in Denmark, employers don't pay for your health care. They pay into something else. They supplement the nation's paternal leave or maternal leave, parental leave. They supplement it, right? Part of it is paid through taxes, and your employer might supplement part of that, right? So expectant mothers get 4 weeks before birth. After birth, weeks are divided and heavily incentivized for both mothers and fathers to share, right? So that makes sure mothers and fathers get their full salary while they're bringing a child into the world, right? United States, the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, grants eligible employees up to 12 weeks of job protected 12 weeks, 52 weeks in Denmark, 12 weeks in the U.S. Family grants eligible employees up to 12 weeks of job protected leave, but it is completely unpaid. Only a handful, goddamn, unpaid? Only a handful of U.S. states mandate paid family leave. Otherwise, paid paternal leave is a luxury corporate benefit. Sick leave. Denmark, you are sick, you stay home and receive your full regular salary. White collar workers have indefinite protection, while blue collar workers receive full pay for a specific period before transitioning to municipality funded sickness benefits. United States, in other words, what that means is for a couple of months, your employer might pay your salary. After that, they have the right to fire you. Then you move on to the unemployment sick thing, which is that's something you have a right to, and you're on it until you get diagnosed or until your sickness is resolved. And it is not the same as unemployment because you're not required to show up to work or to work training or you don't have to go to what they call what is it called in Danish? Because I never fucking use it anyway. It's called job center. Right. It's called Job Center in Denmark. Right. Right. So if you don't have a job, you're required to show up to Job Center. You get your unemployment, but you're required to show up once a week or something like that to find out, and then you go home and you look for a job. And, they evaluate people independently in terms of what they want you to do for your unemployment. But in any case, it's not for free. It comes out of the taxes, and you don't just sit on your ass like that. You're required to actually look for a job, report how many jobs you've applied for, this kind of thing. And if you really aren't good at finding a job, then they will help you, So the United States, there's no federal law requiring paid sick leave. Listen, so there you have it. Now, let me ask one more question here just to help that person to ask me the main question. Let me just ask one more thing. Okay. Okay. What types of jobs in Denmark get you 37 week full time, and what type in the USA get you 35 hours? Is that it? 35 hours full time. I'm curious about that because I didn't even know it was 35 hours. I'm curious about how many too. Just in case, just for people to know. Let's see here. In Denmark, 37-hour work week is standard for virtually all mainstream employment. Okay. It's not restricted to specific industries. It is woven into collective bargaining agreements or incomes that cover roughly 80% of all Danish workers. So 80% of all Danish workers have 37 hours. The types of jobs that you get a standard 37. Okay. This is Denmark. So office, corporate staff, public sector workers, teachers, right? So you see here, corporate staff, finance, tech, HR, everybody's working 37. Lego, Novo Nordisk, Maersk, right? Public sector workers, teachers, nurses, doctors, municipality workers, administration staff, manufacturing and blue collar workers, trade, factory workers, construction workers, mechanics, electricians, retail and hospital, regular full-time, store clerks, supermarket employees, kitchen staff. It's basically everybody, 80%. Self-managed exemption. The major exception in Denmark is for upper management, specialized researchers, or high-level executives that their contracts often specify job loan, right? Job salary. That's what loan means. Meaning they are paid for the task, not the hours. While they're okay, so there you have it. Now, the United States, who gets 35 hours a week? Okay. In the U.S., 40 hours is the standard corporate norm. A 35-hour work week is a specific niche. It is often used by employers who want to offer a slightly better work-life balance by organizations structured around specific daytime shifts. The type of jobs in the U.S. that commonly feature 35-hour work week include government, civil service jobs. Many state and county and local city government administration roles operate on 9 to 5 schedule with a mandatory 1 hour unpaid lunch, resulting in 35-hour. Okay, I get that. Damn, I see what that is now. Okay, while still qualifying for full-time government healthcare pension benefits. Education and nonprofits, school administrative staff, educators, teachers, assistants, university clerical workers, and museum staff frequently operate under 35-hour schedules. Okay, that's good. Healthcare and social services, certain outpatient clinics, physical therapists, assistants, social workers, and home health aides are hired 35-hour block to maintain predictable daytime schedules. Okay, progressive corporate tech roles, companies participating in 4-day work week. Okay, damn, that's interesting. So Denmark is a little more like 4-day work week. Now let me see, what percentage of
before you continue, V.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few people. Well, I saw a comment in the chat saying that countries like Denmark tax their poorest at 50%, tax their middle class at 15%, and their wealthiest at 5%, which is ridiculously bonkers and not true.
No, that's not true. Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna pull that up too real quick. Now let me see, what percentage of the employed persons in the USA have 35 hours versus 40 hours. And okay, so we're going to do that. Denmark is 80%, has 37 hours, right? So we know that. Now let me do this one, and then I'm going to say, and okay, first we do that one, right? Just to get that out of the way. Let's see here. Okay, so here it is. So you see this? 40 hours. Percentage of total employed, around 46 to 49%. All working Americans work 40 hours. You see that? So that's interesting. That's an interesting number because Denmark, 80% of the people work 37 hours a week. In the United States, less. That's like 50% or 50% or more. No, 50% or slightly more, maybe 50 to 53% work, 50 to 54%, right, have 35 hours, right? So that means have 40 hours. I'm sorry. 46 to 49% have 40 hours a week, right? That makes it 51 to 54% in the U.S. has 35-hour week. In Denmark, 80% of the people have 37-hour week. Right now, what about nighttime employment? Full-time hours. Let me see here, just to do that, and then we're going to do the tax thing again. I'm glad people are asking. It's okay, because this comes up often, and if people never have anybody to pull it up or have this discussion, you won't know, because legacy media is not having the discussion. All right. So night shifts, Denmark, high regulation and caps. In Denmark, night legally defined as any work performed between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., heavily regulated to protect workers' health. The 8-hour average rule. Under EU working time directive integration into Danish law, the night worker cannot work more than an average of 8 hours per 24-hour period, calculated over a specified reference period. This prevents employers from forcing overnight staff to work a brutal 14 to 14-hour shifts back-to-back. 34-hour limit. Full-time night employees still target the standard 37-hour week because night work is considered inconvenient hours. The schedule was often compressed 9 hours. Okay, but that's funny because I don't do that for this. In my industry is different. Let me see here. Yeah, but it's because it's collective bargaining. So I work in the health industry. So in the health industry is 32 hours. So something like that, 32.5. So in the U.S., there's no limit caps. You see that? So, and then one more thing. Do healthcare. I'm just curious about that. I just want to get that out of the way because that's what this is my collective. Yeah, you see, now healthcare. You see, this is where I work. So that's why my hours. Yes, you have hit it on a very specific and popular reality of Danish healthcare system. While the official full-time contract standard for nurse or doctor in Denmark remains at 37 hours a week, many healthcare professionals who choose to work permanent night shifts, fast natavakt, right, purposely choose to work around 28 to 32 hours a week. Even though 28 to 32 hours is technically part-time on paper, it functions entirely different through the way the Danish system is structured. The financial math. Tillæg. In Denmark, night shifts, usually 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., come with a mandatory collective agreement bonus called nattillæg, and a night premium, which adds roughly 32.5 on top of the healthcare worker's base salary for every hour worked during the window of 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Weekend shifts add another 40%. Right? Because of these massive bonuses, a nurse working 28 to 32 hours entirely at night often take home the exact same monthly salary or more as a colleague worker in standard 37 hours. Right? The 7-7 schedule rule, the classic 7-time night shift routine Danish nurses and 7-7 schedule or ordning the work 7 consecutive night shifts, usually 8 hours and 9-hour shifts, followed by 7 full days off. So it's a little different for healthcare workers in my sector right now. Do you keep your benefits? Yes. You see that? So the difference is that technically on my schedule, I work 32.5 hours a week, right? But also technically I get my full-time benefits. You see now, but I usually work. It's not even technically. I always work more than 32 hours. Because something always happens. Maybe a colleague is late. Maybe they have to change it, and look, I'm going to be honest. Some days I might have to work 14 hours. You see what I mean? Some days it might be like that, even though my schedule is expected to be 8 hours that day or something. You see what I'm saying? But here it is. Yes, unlike the U.S., where dropping below the full-time hours might mean losing your healthcare or retirement match, Danish benefits are protected. Healthcare universal and tax-funded, so hours worked change nothing. Pension retained completely. The employer's pension contribution applies to every single DK Danish dollar earned, including night bonus. Vacation, you still receive your mandatory 5-way. You see? So although I work 32.5, I have the same benefits and pension and vacation as somebody that works 37 hours, right? So and now somebody asked me about the tax system, right? So let's do that. Now the exact question was what?
They said that the poorest pay the highest in taxes, which makes no sense at all, and that the middle class pay 15%.
Okay.
And the wealthiest pay 5%. I'm like, that makes no sense, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to afford the social programs you do have.
Right.
But I guess they don't understand how economics works.
Okay, so let me ask.
Someone mentioned that we've never had to take the fare, or like we don't know what it is to drive a bus or anything like that. I have a brother-in-law who is a bus driver and an uncle who's a bus driver.
Yeah.
So please stop it. Like, stop.
Oh, okay.
Stop.
Well, you know
In
what?
New York City.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, we can look at that after. So the first thing is the taxes, right? So he said. I'm just going to fact check that. What was his statement exactly? In Denmark, what? The poorest get taxed the most?
Yes, at a 50% rate, middle class 15, and the top at 5%, which is just ridiculously ignorant. But yeah, sure.
Okay, so in Denmark, are the poorest taxed 50%, and then the wealthiest or everyone else taxed less?
Yes.
No, I'm just going to put the question now that he wrote it so people can know. I mean, it's not that I already know that's not at all true. That's the exact opposite.
How economics works.
Look, this is it says it says it here. No, that's actually the exact opposite of how Danish taxes work. So the person who said that has it exactly wrong. It's the exact opposite way from how they framed it. Okay. Denmark uses progressive tax system, meaning the more you make, the higher your tax percentage is. The poorest people pay the lowest tax rates, while high earners pay the highest rates. How Danish taxes actually work. Everyone gets an initial personal allowance of 54,000 without being taxed. That's a fradrag, personally fradrag in Danish. That's what it's called. So you're not taxed for your first 54,000 Danish kroner. It doesn't matter how you split it up. If you split it up for a month, in a month that might be like 7. It depends on how much you work, obviously. But if you work full time, that might be between 4,000 and 7,000 kroner. You don't get taxed on, right? So any money you earn, I'm talking about the average worker. Talking about the low income workers, right? Middle class and low. Any money you earn below this amount is essentially tax free, except for an 8% labor market contribution. That might be split up to like something like pension or something like that. Once you earn more than that allowance, taxes kick in into income brackets. Low middle earners, the lowest bracket. If you work a lower wage job, a part-time job, or a standard earner, your total effective income tax rate usually lands between 35% and 38%, right? So, yeah. And that's middle. That's even people working in the healthcare sector. You know, this is made up of local certain people. It depends on what your salary is. This is made up of local municipal tax average about 25%, and the bottom state tax 12%. High earners, the progressive brackets, once you start, now keep in mind, when you're paying 35 to 38% in Denmark, you're not paying for, your kids are going to higher education getting paid to, right? So your health care is totally free when you pay this percent, 35 to 38%. You get 5 weeks paid vacation when you pay 35 to 38%. You get sick leave 2 years guaranteed if you need it when you pay this tax bracket. You get housing insurance. If all of a sudden you get a new job and it pays you less than than your old job has, but you want to live in the same place, your housing insurance kicks in at this tax rate. So you get a lot of benefits with this tax rate. If you have a child, you get, everyone who has a child gets child money every month with this tax rate, $200 a month for each child. So at this tax rate, so you get all those benefits at this tax rate. You see, that's the lower income, right? High earners get the same benefits as the low earners get. They just pay more tax. Okay. Once you start making high salary, Denmark adds an extra brackets of top on those base rates. Middle bracket adds an extra 7.5 on your income. You know, they actually thought at one point, all of a sudden they saw me get paid something. I think it was my vacation money. And all of a sudden they thought, you know, my taxes, my job, or not my job, because it was on the side, you know, it's extra money. They actually thought, you know, they actually tried to bring my taxes up because they were like, wait a second, are you making it a higher? I was like, hell fucking no. You better bring that shit back down. That shit was funny. But in any case, top bracket adds another 7.5 on top of income, right? You see what I'm saying? 7.5. So, but you still get all those benefits, healthcare, your child money for every child. So you could be rich in Denmark, but you still get child supplements for each child, $200 a month that you have living in your home. Right. Your child still gets higher education paid for, or whether it's technical school or university. Your child still has free health care. You still get 5 weeks paid vacation, and you still get 1 year off to share a family, 6 months when you have a new child, full pay. Top bracket adds another 7.5 income, right? Top bracket adds another 5% for ultra high earners. So if it's even higher than that, right, then there's another 5%. So because of these layers, the wealthy CEO or high earning specialist will see their marginal tax rate hit roughly 56 to 60%. So this is the wealthy. This is the elite in Denmark. The elite in Denmark pay between 56 and 60% of their income tax. Right. That's what it is in Denmark. So there you have it. So now there's a flat the base tax, because the base municipal 25% applies to almost everyone as soon as they cross the tax-free threshold. Right. So again, a certain amount of that is not taxed at all. This is only after you get above a certain amount of money, then the taxes kick in. So free threshold. Even lower income workers pay a noticeable amount of tax compared to the U.S. However, their total rate is still vastly lower than what the rich pay. So you get in Denmark, the middle class and the lower class have more benefits by far than the middle class and the lower class of the United States of America. In Denmark, 70% of the taxes you pay go back when you're an average person, right? The average person, because obviously a smaller percent are rich and wealthy and elite, right? 70% of the taxes people pay in Denmark go back directly to something you can see, feel, and touch in your life that has direct consequence on your life, your child's life, your parents' life, and these kind of things. Whereas though the U.S. is 45% of your taxes you pay. So even though you might pay a little less in the U.S., far less of that percentage is actually going to things that directly benefit you. So people need to be aware of that. Now let's go back to was there one more question, or is that it? Is that good enough?
Yeah, I think that's good enough. Aside from entertaining whoever's in the chat.
Yeah, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, well, if you want to pay for drones, then that's what the cost is. You know what I'm saying? You gonna pay. It means 40. It means 55% of your taxes that you pay is going to drones, bombs, missiles. That's where it's going. Elon Musk is going to SpaceX, blowing up on the landing pad, or it's going to a lot of shit that you don't ever see in your life. Because why? Because if you in my chat, you probably not the top class. You're not the top tier. I'm just saying it's nothing of it means you're closer to me than Elon Musk, right? So we have more in common if you in this chat. Somebody said Denmark is the best country to. Absolutely, Clover. Shit. Exactly. Skull to Denmark. Yeah, Denmark is.
Hearing those benefits. Shit.
Yo.
Definitely is.
Danes are some very, how can I say this? Down to earth, but honorable and level-headed people. Like, you know, they have a different mentality. Nordic people also have a very different mentality. You know, they don't Americans, we operate a lot on money. How much money you have is how we treat you, your value. The Scandinavian, that's not how people are seeing things. In fact, it's not popular to show off money. Danes are what you call more minimalistic. They might have money. The upper class might have money, but their style is more minimalistic. You know, the beauty is in, it's kind of like Danish style, right? Is kind of like Italian food. Very simple, from the region, from the area, doesn't take up too much space, doesn't waste too much space. Very, you know, kind of, you just have to learn what I'm talking about. And also the approach, how Danish people think. They're not, they can meet anybody and have a conversation with anybody. Now, of course, you do have your wild ones, let's say, that are less healthy than others, right? Like, you know, MAGA is not healthy at all. These motherfuckers are just insane. You see what I mean? But most Danes, because they get access to education, they're a little more level-headed, practical about things, can understand a plan over a 10-year plan. You know what I mean? A simple, progressive, you know, step-by-step, you know, thing, instead of this, like, get all you can get right now or nothing. Race to the top.
Yeah.
The Danes aren't racing to the top. They don't think that way. They're interested in doing things, but it's got to be realistic and level-headed, you know. And so but in any case, let's hear some more about that's my perspective about Denmark and the Nordic countries. You know, other people have their own perspective. So but I'm also giving my perspective in comparison to Americans. I'm an American that lives in Denmark. So I lived half of my life in the U.S., born and raised, and then the other half, a little less than the other half, is in Denmark. So when I'm giving comparisons, it's from the American to Danish experience. Someone else's experience might be totally different. You see what I'm saying? So, all right. So let's get back to public transport now and Mom Donnie, because this is the hot news. He wants to make public transport better. He wants to start with the buses. So let's do that. Let's see what he's talking about here. Let's see.
Minute and 53 seconds left for me to hit this goal. Now, if you take the bus to work, that adds up fast. Within 6 months, you will have spent 24 fewer hours on the bus. By the time a year rolls around, you'll have saved more than 2 days of commuting time.
What? Let me hear that again.
I've spent 24 fewer hours on the bus. 1 minute and 53 seconds left for me to hit this goal. Now, if you take the bus to work, that adds up fast. Within 6 months, you will have spent 24 fewer hours on the bus. By the time a year rolls around, you'll have saved more than 2 days of commuting time. That means breakfast with your family. It means having the time to argue balls and strikes at your kid's Little League game. It means getting home for bedtime. It means agreeing with your friends that Egypt were robbed yesterday. Above all, it means time returned to New Yorkers who don't have nearly enough of it. And as we do so, we are also ensuring that the time spent on our bus system is a little more pleasant. No longer will the majority of bus stops in New York City be a rusty pole and slab of concrete. That is not good enough. By the end of this year, we will install 100 new bus shelters citywide and 300 more by 2031. We will add benches and leaning bars at 875 bus stops each year, with seating guaranteed at every single bus stop in the city by 2035. And we will plant more trees around stops to provide shade and protection from the elements. At every stop of this work, the working people who ride our buses every day will shape the decisions that we make. Input from street outreach and community workshops will be incorporated during the design and development phases. And even after construction is completed, we will continue to solicit feedback to make sure that each project is delivering exactly what we promised.
You know something? Winter, you touched on something there. Yeah, in Denmark, with the two people with the middle salary can buy a house. It might not be in the center of the city, Copenhagen, but it would be in the suburbs. You can buy a house, no problem. Maybe you might want to commute, like, maybe that might look a little different, your day to day. It depends. It depends on where you work too. But yeah, you definitely can, and people do it all across Denmark. Copenhagen is the most expensive part, maybe a little bit northern towards Helsinki when we're talking about Zealand, things like this, Helsingborg or whatever. That direction, it might be a little more expensive than downtown, than Copenhagen city, right? But generally speaking, the rest of the country, the housing is much more cheaper too. So if you work in the healthcare sector or you drive a bus or these kind of things, yeah, you can easily own a house, no problem at all. The United States is not necessarily like that, or that's what people say. But you raise a good point. Exactly. It's true.
Years from today, when we take measure of whether this plan succeeded, we will calculate it by how many New Yorkers get home earlier, by how many buses arrived when they were supposed to, by how many working people got some relief from the heat and the rain.
Yo, Evil Doer says, or Evil, what is this? He says, Danish need to take in our most corrupt and let us know how they like it. They don't want right now. Yo, 90% of Danes hate fucking Trump, like straight up, no doubt about it. They don't want anything to do with anybody associated with Trump. I think across Europe, it's close to between 80 and 90% of Europeans do not fuck with Trump at all. And yeah, you said it. Corruption will kill. It kills society. Corruption, the United States is the richest country on earth, but the corruption is also the richest. It's the richest amount of the biggest corruption on earth. Nobody else really compares. You can, maybe Putin compares, maybe Russia compares, right? But compared to the U.S., the corruption is, and compared to Denmark, there's far less corruption. Yeah, again, it's not looked highly upon. If you steal money in Denmark, and you're showing it off, you become a pariah easily. Your ass will be in the media every day, man. People will remember you that you were the person that kind of broke the system or broke the code, Yeah. And actually, that's a kind of thing you might hear Danes saying. Hold on, what's the saying that they say? Bava. Yeah, actually, it's a lot of things. But people will say, typically they will say, protect the system, I forget the exact Danish phrase they use when they're saying that, but yeah, people will say protect the system because they're aware that corruption will fuck over this Danish system. It will fuck it over. And you can't have it if corruption is just going amok. But there is corruption, but in the US there's just so much more corruption per person. You see it. It's right in your face. They laugh about it on TV. They tell you on CNN that it's normal. They tell you on Fox News that, hey, this is what freedom looks like. It's like goddamn corruption is what they're selling. The congressional members are corrupt. Senators corrupt. Goddamn Supreme Court judge is bragging about how he went to Russia with no U.S. security and no one can report on what activities he was doing in Putin's hometown. I mean, it's that blatant, the corruption in the U.S., man. That would never stand in fucking Denmark. If you're related to Jeffrey Epstein, you're losing your goddamn job in Denmark and most of Europe. You're out of there. Never again will ever touch anything close. And you will be investigated and anyone else in your family that might have some contact. Look at the U.S. They're not prosecuting anybody connected to Epstein. So that tells you the difference in how people view corruption. It's sad, man.
And by how I can't even speak as fast as the savings that we're going to receive. Because what we're going to see is that New Yorkers will spend 6 fewer minutes on the bus and 6 more minutes living their lives.
Yeah, but somebody said we don't want no commies. But Denmark's not a communist nation, and there's no communist European nation. All the European nations, all NATO nations are capitalistic nations. That's how it works, So I don't understand you when you say something like that, because we're not even talking about communism. We're talking about capitalistic countries right now. So you should understand that all NATO nations are capitalistic countries. So if someone told you different, then they misinformed you. Yeah, Go. Well, you want to say
My
something?
assumption is that he's trying to call Mom Donnie a commie somehow, but
No.
I could be wrong.
Well, public
I could be wrong.
transport is, I don't know. Public transport, is that communist? Healthcare, is that communist? How is public transport? Those things should be in any society, regardless of whether you're communist, socialist, goddamn capitalist. Don't you need those things? Isn't that something everybody needs? I don't understand it. Yeah.
I mean, it ensures the well-being of the masses. When you ensure the well-being of the masses, you know what happens? You live longer, you're able to work harder, and you get a more productive society and a more robust middle class, which is the class that tends to spend the most
Yeah.
and stimulate an economy.
I mean, your society. Yeah. I mean, the society, your structure, the government and the tax system, and is supposed to be designed to enhance your life, not hold it down. So why collectively pay taxes with a bunch of other people if it's not to improve everyone's life, to improve the community's life, to improve infrastructure, to make things easier? Why would you pay taxes to not make things easier? I don't understand that theory, because otherwise you can make things easier by yourself and pay no taxes. Why not do that? And as a matter of fact, look, I started off here today. It was someone else talking about taxes or some shit like that, and someone said the USA is not a democracy. Look, the USA, you know what the USA is? People are. Oh, I don't know why Americans are doing this to themselves. Like, I don't understand what they do, where they're getting at. The United States is a constitutional federal republic and a representative democracy. It is at the same time. If you leave one of those words out, you're technically not correct. So while it's a federal republic, it's also a democracy, a representative democracy, meaning you have an electoral college. It's different. So every democracy is not the same type of democracy. For example, in Denmark, it's one man, one vote. In the United States, it's not that. So you don't have one man, one vote in the United States. You have a representative democracy. That's an electoral college. So now, but the other thing is this. Somebody said something about what was the next thing that same person said? Some shit about taxes. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Check this out. History of taxes in the United States, full of drama, rebellion, shifting lows. OK, early American tariffs. So at first you had no income tax. Between 1789, 1861, there was nothing called income tax. You paid no income tax on your salary in the United States. That's 100 years or 50. Yeah, that's 70 years, something like that. No income tax. Close to that. Maybe 50. Hold on. What is it? 50 years, right? Okay, or a little more. Now, the first income tax came up in 1861. So how old was the Republic in 1861? Right? I mean, there was no income tax all that time. So no income tax at all. So is income tax American? Are income taxes in the Constitution? Right? Is the United States, has it always been a country that collected income tax? No. It has not always collected income tax. That was a decision that representatives in Congress decided. And that is in who makes laws and how they're made is in the Constitution. But what laws they make is not necessarily until they have this one statement, no law shall infringe upon unless you go down that path then it's there. So generally speaking, none of them are supposed to be too extreme that they're stopping another freedom. So no law can be so extreme that it stops another baseline freedom, right, in the U.S. But the U.S., let me see here. Let me see, how many years was this? And that was only temporary. That was only because of the war they had an income tax. After that, they went back to no income tax. So outside of that temporary income tax initially How many years did the USA have no income tax before it was generally across the country? Let's see here. I'm curious about that. Okay. So, except the brief Civil War period, which is where that income tax was introduced, the United States had 113 years of absolutely no federal income tax. Okay? So, the federal income tax is it American? Is it the Constitution? Is it in the Constitution? Should you follow it? What is it for, by the way? What is the federal income tax for? You tell me. You tell me what it's for. But other countries have already crossed that barrier and figured out what federal income taxes are for. And Mom Donnie, I don't know how much they're going to try to hold back of New York's federal dollars, because now Mom Donnie wants to improve public transport. They probably will tell him that. They probably will say, because you did a rent freeze, we're going to try to hold back federal income. But if you don't do it, you're never going to find out. And on top of that, who is going to hold it? Is it legal to hold it back?
That's where you're hitting it right on the head. So Trump had threatened, even before Mom Donnie's full election, to withhold federal funding, federal taxes, federal funding in general, right? But Mom Donnie had threatened or mentioned the fact that he would just take it to court, right? This was actively during his campaigning, because at the end of the day, we're paying federal taxes, and we're a donor state, right? We're not a welfare state. So essentially, if you want to do that, you'll be hurting yourself, because now if we withhold those federal taxes, you're going to lose a huge chunk of needed federal income tax, right? And so it wouldn't work out too well in court, right? Because we're paying taxes. So by default, if you're giving other states tax, if you're giving other states funding, and you're purposely withholding funding because you don't like who the mayor is, or how the mayor is choosing to govern, when that governance is supposed to be by the state chooses to govern itself, right? The states have rights, and so essentially Trump would lose that in a heartbeat. So I'd love to see how that would play out in court, actually.
Yo, somebody said it's because of welfare that we started the income tax. No, it's not because of that. Actually, it's very interesting. But let's check this shit out. This is something I didn't actually consider before. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can look it up, but it's most definitely not. It was to build our country, right?
It was to build the country. Yeah, exactly. And they even it's infrastructure projects. Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly. Look,
I don't think Mom Donnie's able to pay for this infrastructure taxes.
That's exactly it, bro. You're right. Look, permanent federal income tax was started in 1913 for three main reasons: fears of a rigid economy, a rapidly growing country that needed cash, and a massive political rebellion against the wealthy. So the wealthy were hoarding the money, and they weren't sharing none of it for infrastructure. It wasn't improving anybody else's life. You got to remember, this is before unions and shit like that. You didn't have a fair life. You could be employed and live in squalor in the U.S. That was normal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? While you had one rich dude that controlled everything from left to right with a private army himself. Americans got tired of that shit, bro. Americans got tired of that shit. Look, sometimes people imagine the United States in funny ways, man. I'll never. Do you know what the 1913 looked like in the United States of America? Do you think it looked like just some luxury? It was spas all around and shit, and the average worker was just living it up, huh?
I more recently saw a documentary on Seneca Village, which was a village that is now located in Central Park.
Right.
But with that said, there were tons of little shanty towns throughout New York City because of the wealth inequality in the early 1900s before
Yeah.
taxes were created, right? Before the necessity of taxes. And you had a ton of people, like almost a third of the population in New York City were living homeless inside of Central Park, right? They
Dude.
would just put up, tents, and they would have to get the police to come in every other week because, look, the richest people who lived across the street from the park hated the sight of the poor people who had now created towns within New York City, within Central Park. So essentially, they started cracking down, and then eventually, once taxes started being collected, then they started building on infrastructure, lower income housing, or housing in general. But yeah, go ahead, B.
Yeah, Joe. All right. Look, I called you Joe. That's a DC slang. That's like Mo. Run, Joe. Yeah. All right. So look, here it is. Permanent federal income tax. Right now, by early 1900s, the old way of funding U.S. government had completely broken down. The three forces drove the creation of the 16th Amendment, the Gilded Age, and rapid industrialization. In the late 1800s, the U.S. economy shifted dramatically from small rural farming to massive industrial factories. The era, the Gilded Age, created astronomical wealth for a handful of monopoly tycoons such as John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. Yeah. Under the old...
And guess where they live?
New York.
Here in New York City.
Yep. Carnegie Hall, Rockefeller Building. Exactly. Yep. Now, under the old tax system, these mega wealthy industrial barons paid virtually zero federal taxes.
Yep.
So you see that? So, I mean, this is what part of the transformation of the country. Their massive wealth came from corporate. So when people demonize the Rockefeller family and they go into the banking system and they go into the, conspiracy theory, the Jews run everything, conspiracy, Rockefeller thing, you also need to think about it in this terms. Part of how those people outside of your conspiracy theory actually got wealthy is they paid zero taxes. They ain't paid no fucking tax. And they had a leg up before you even was born. Before you even thought of before this time, way more people, the largest percent, probably 90% of Americans didn't have shit. You see what I'm saying? You're talking about a small group of people that had economic leverage already and were able to, because of that initial money they had, were able to buy up everything. But they were able to do it because there was no taxes. They paid no tax. Okay. Their massive wealth came. So when you think about the rich paying taxes today, you should think about it in the same terms as your conspiracy theory, or you might want to drop the conspiracy and just break it down to they ain't trying to pay taxes. Okay, that might be better for your ass. Okay, it might not be the Jews so much as it is the taxes that they ain't paying, is what I'm saying. All right, you were on to something. You just didn't let go of the religious bigotry to look at the centerpiece here. Because whether you're a Muslim, Christian, or a Jew or not, this will give you an advantage over everyone else. Okay, think of this as Trump. Zero federal taxes for the wealthy. Okay. Yeah. Howard Lutnick, Elon Musk. Okay. Their massive wealth came from the corporate stock, bonds, and real estate, none of which were touched by federal tariffs. Yes. Think of that. Trump is right up in there. He's right up in there. None of that was touched. That's why he complained about the taxes. The tariff system was, or for the rich, he complains about it. The tariff system was hurting the poor. So you see that? And Trump, he likes to think they sell this jargon that's totally backwards, and these MAGA people eat it up. Tariffs are good. Tariffs gonna make us rich. No, you dumbass. It made fucking people poor. You dumb maggot. Get it through your goddamn head. Before 1913, the government almost all of its money from tariffs taxed on imported goods. To protect American factories, the government kept tariffs high, which drove up the price of everyday goods like clothes, food, and tools. Working class citizens, farmers, and poor spent nearly all of their income on these several goods, meaning they were essentially funding the entire federal government. Do you fucking understand how stupid you maggots are? You guys do the bidding for the very people you say are the Jews in your conspiracy. You're doing their bidding. You're promoting you're promoting policy for the wealthy, for the Rockefellers, bro. The maggots are the Rockefeller employees. They're the Rockefeller simps. That's who the maggots are. They're the Rockefeller fucking simps. Political simping.
I'm always surprised at how much people don't know about American history, but claim to be patriotic. It's insane.
They ain't patriotic. They're unfucking patriotic, and also ignorant as fuck. Ignorant.
Yeah.
Ignorant. You won't replace us. Yeah, bitch. Well, then fix this. Learn your history, motherfucker. Get something done right. Yeah, I don't want to be replaced any more than you want to be replaced. But you don't know nothing about the history of the country, so you're being replaced. I mean, damn. Working class citizens, farmers, and the poor spent nearly all their income on these survival goods, meaning they were essentially funding the entire federal government. The poor. Political groups like the populists and the progressives argue this was a rigged system that made the rich richer and the poor poorer. They demanded a tax based on the ability to pay. This is part of your country's history. So you got a choice. You're going to take the side of the Elon Musk Rockefellers,
The oil barons, yeah.
or you going to take the side of the majority of the people that are tired of the rich getting richer and not paying their fair share. You have a choice.
Get it, V. This is what they mean. This is what they mean by make America great again. I finally understand it.
This is what they mean. This is what they mean.
This is what they mean. Yeah, this is what they really mean, and I'm sorry for not understanding that, guys.
Oh, I understood it. You didn't understand this? Because see, maybe it's because I live in Denmark. It's easier as an American for me to get it, right? Because I see the system functioning differently and see people arguing about why the system works this way. So I hear it. It's already been broken down in my ears, right? But Americans, they don't get to have this conversation because legacy media won't have it, bro. Legacy media won't have it. So it's a strange
MAGA has no
conversation.
idea what they're rooting for.
They don't.
Because you know why? You know, in America, we romanticize the times of the John D. Rockefellers and the Andrew Carnegies of the world.
Yeah.
And they assume that life was some peachy keen, beautiful aesthetic. No, it wasn't. It was so much wealth inequality and poverty that it makes even now look laughable. But if that's the time you want to go back to, good for you. I don't. And I'll continue to vote the opposite and be as progressive as possible to make sure that doesn't happen to myself or people who look like me or people who vote with the same moral stance that I do.
I mean, at least be rational. These motherfuckers ain't rational, bro. They're not rational. They have the entire story backwards. The entire story. Yeah. You know, the Rockefeller. But see, this is what gets me, because at some points they get it right. They do understand there was a conspiracy of the wealthy, but they add you to it, right? They don't just get down to what it was actually about and then compare it to what is being done today. It was about the rich didn't want to pay no taxes, and that the middle class and poor were paying all the government taxes. They were the ones holding up the whole country, the middle class and the poor, and the rich were paying zero federal taxes. That was the problem. This is why we have a different income tax system now. Federal income tax is to make sure. This is why we have income tax. It's to make sure these rich people actually pay something. But when you break it down, they will argue that they're not supposed to have it. Why? Because they wanted to go back, like you said, to the times where the wealthy people were like barons, paid no taxes, and everyone else was like a servant to the baron. Whether you're a slave or whether you're a indentured servant. Two classes of people. No rights. You see what I mean? You're totally dependent on the baron, right? And the baron is maybe throwing you scraps based on certain affiliation you might have, right? But it's still elitism at the end of the day. It's nothing about the people. You see what I mean? It's nothing about the country. It's nothing about being patriotic. In fact, they detest the poor and the middle class. You could
is the same people who are advocating for less taxes on the rich because they pay more in taxes when essentially they don't.
They don't.
Right?
They pay less.
They have loopholes which they utilize to its full extent, and essentially, even people like Warren Buffett have complained about the tax system, saying that he pays more taxes than his secretary. Think about that. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, one of the most successful stock traders in the world, says that he pays less taxes than his secretary.
Exactly.
Because of the loopholes in America. And he would like to change that because he feels it's unfair, and it's what leads to disproportionate wealth inequality. And he's right.
And he's talking about gross.
He is right.
He's talking about gross taxes. Yeah. How can you be rich and gross? We're not talking about a different percentage. He pays less over. We talking about gross tax than his goddamn secretary. How's that possible? And that's what this is leading back to, you know? So these MAGAs don't understand it. They have the reason why we have income tax is because before the tariffs tax was paying for the government, but the tariff tax was doing what? What was it doing? Working class citizens and farmers and poor spent nearly all their income on these survival goods, meaning they were essentially funding the entire government. That is what the tariff tax does. The wealthy don't pay that tax. The middle class and poor do. Meaning the middle class and poor end up paying the entire federal government's funding. That's exactly what's going on. This is what Trump is arguing for. This is what Howard Lutnick argued for. This is what they all argue for. And the funny thing about it is they came out and did it to your face because they know you're stupid. That's the insult to injury. See, at least when I meet Howard Lutnick, he's going to know, hey, I got to respect this guy because he's a black man, but he bothered to educate himself enough about American history to earn my respect because it's not personal. He's just a greedy bastard. And if you just going to let them run amok, that's on you.
Yep.
That's on you. You deserve it. If that's what you're going to do with your system, you know, if you're too stupid to know how it works, that's on you. You know, you have plenty of opportunity to go down a different path. And if you choose the path of the indentured servant or slave, that's on you. The only difference is really one is the slave was, you know, had a color attached to it and the indentured servant didn't. You know what I mean? So you're broke. You can still be a servant. God damn it. That's not, you still living in squalor, by the way. OK, you're still in proximity to the slaves. You just because the rich don't want your ass anyway, man. In fact, they might have more use for a slave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Believe it or not.
Yeah. Ironically, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn. You know, it's sad, but, you know, I mean, it's all elitist. It's all fucked up. It's all oppressive. But, you know, to the wealthy, one might have more of a purpose. Because the indentured servant, you know what I mean? He wants something more. He just wants a tiny bit more. It's like, man, fuck that. I can get that for free, man. The slave is going to create all this shit for nothing. Why should I pay you? Why should I pay you for that? Slave knows how to do it better than you. You know? Now, look, it's crazy. Political. Here it is. Protection. Look, before 1913, the government got almost all its money from tariffs, taxes on imported goods. To protect American factories, the government kept tariffs high, which drove up the price of everyday goods like clothes, food, and tools. Working class citizens, farmers, and the poor spent nearly all their income on these survival goods, meaning they were essentially funding the entire federal government. That's exactly what they did. And they're even paying back the corporations the tariff money that they paid. What a hustle. The U.S. government needed more money. The 20th century began. America was transforming into a global power. The government was building a massive modern navy, massive modern navy, was building expanding its military and taking on large infrastructure projects like the Panama Canal. Okay, that's not in the United States. Relying on volatile import tariffs wasn't a stable or sufficient way to fund the modern world power. So this is why we have income taxes too. See, so it's part income tax, right? To make these wealthy motherfuckers pay their share, because before that only tariffs was paying for the government, and that meant that the average person, because they had to buy the goods and pay the tariff price, the heightened of the cost of the goods, it meant that the average person, the poor and the middle class, was paying for all the government funding. They needed more money. 20th century began, so they started doing these other things. They needed money for other projects. How it finally passed. When the 16th Amendment was ratified in 1913, the political selling point that got it passed across the country was a simple promise. Only the ultra wealthy would pay it. When the first permanent tax code took effect that year, it didn't touch every worker. Surprise, surprise. It was actually meant for the ultra wealthy to pay. Income taxes were created for the ultra wealthy to pay in the United States of America. My, look how far we have gone since then.
So it's funny because after that, the tax brackets were relatively high, where, if I'm not mistaken, they paid anywhere to 80 to 90% income tax at the highest tax rate. And even with corporations, they paid a hefty tax rate. And then people like Reagan came down and changed the whole tax structure. And we can see that by seeing how many billionaires were created due to Reagan's cuts on taxes and his theory of trickle-down economics that was obviously never going to work, because they're not going to create more jobs in a market if they don't have a need for those jobs. But yeah, essentially that's what happened. Shortly after these income taxes were passed, they were passed at the behest to limit the growth and the wealth, and essentially never have someone like a John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie to ever exist. So a lot of these corporations were taxed at the highest rate between 80 and 90% in the 90 percentile. Where now they get taxed at like a 20-25% rate, and even then they're still trying to diminish it because they don't want to pay those taxes, which they still avoid those taxes through loopholes by purposely connecting companies that they know run at a loss and then claiming those losses, so that way it's in contrast to their more profitable businesses, so they pay essentially zero tax.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead, B.
Somebody said you shouldn't believe everything you read off the internet. Well, should
What?
you? We're talking about the goddamn 16th Amendment, asshole. Like, what the fuck? This thing? You never heard of the 16th Amendment? It's in. It's a.
No, this person doesn't even know the first 5 amendments, right? And you shouldn't believe everything we put on the internet. The information is connected to a source. That source wouldn't be number one if it was false information. This is common knowledge, and this is learned in depth through American history, right? I'm not even actively using your screen and still know of the tax rate prior to Reagan's economic cuts, right? Reagan's tax cuts, right? This is public knowledge, right? This is not something that's hidden. You can go to the library right now, open a book, and it's going to have the same text, because that's what they're referencing this. The internet doesn't make up history. It just tells you what it is. But go ahead, B.
Yeah, it's your 16th Amendment, bro. I mean, it's your 16th Amendment, and again, if you want to know what it is, here, 16th Amendment to the United States. Like, so if you want to go read it, right? Give me, hold on, here it is. Give me the government website for the 16th Amendment. Speaking also about why it was introduced and passed. This is just American history, man. You don't have to be so spookified. When you heard about the Rockefellers and the Jews controlling the world, where'd you get that from? The fucking internet, asshole. So, I mean, I didn't tell you to believe that. I'm telling you, believe American history. What the hell? Believe your own civics. Okay. So here, you want to go to this is a government thing. You want to go to the Ronald Reagan presidential government, GOV website. You want to go to the U.S. Congress Constitution annotated website. You want to go to the internet, to the National Constitution Center, the 16th Amendment page. Why the 16th Amendment? I mean, all this information is found just there. You see, so why the 16th Amendment was introduced and passed, overruling the Supreme Court decision. 1894, Congress passed a modest peacetime income tax. However, the 1895 landmark case Pollock versus Farmers, you see that? Loan and trust. Usually these people want to be on the side of the farmers, but now they want to be on the side of, okay. However, here we go. The Supreme Court struck it down as unconstitutional. The court ruled that the taxes on income derived from property like rent, interest, or dividends were a direct tax, and under the Article 1 of the Constitution had to be divided up and apportioned among the states based strictly on their populations. Because doing this was practically impossible, the federal government was effectively blocked from collecting income taxes. The only way to bypass the ruling was to change the Constitution itself. There you have it. Motherfucking Supreme Court. Okay. Shifting away from the unfair tariffs, right? Listen, this is the U.S. Capitol Historical Society saying this. Hold on. Let me pull it up. U.S. Capitol Historic Society. You see the reference there? You see that? I'm going to put this in there for you. And this is also the Ronald Reagan. That's a government thing. Here, let me open this up for you and put this in the chat. CapitolHillHistory.org. Okay, let's see here. Boom. Let's go. Historical Society. You can read that too. Anybody can read this. Let's put that in the chat for you. Boom. Let me go back. Get the 16th Amendment page. Let's go to the Ronald Reagan Library. Also, you can read about the 16th Amendment there. Boom, boom, boom. That's government website. GOV. As you know, that's what that means. Put that in here for people. Also, if they want to read, some of the people just don't want to read because they assholes. Don't want to hop up and shit either. Anonymous and unidentified. But here, yeah. Oh, okay. This link is too long. Educational. I tell you what, I will just put it like this, and then you can get to his page. Boom. Now let's go back here. Also, more about the 16th Amendment, National Archives. Boom, boom, boom. Open that one up. You can read this. Here we go. La la la. Yeah, you learned all that shit about the Jews controlling the world from the internet. So you may as well read this, some government websites. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck's people like? I didn't learn that from them. Don't tell me I learned that from the internet. Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. That's what. Because I read.
Clearly, you didn't learn anything in school, right?
You ain't learned it in school. What the fuck? You didn't learn it in college. You didn't learn it in elementary school. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit crazy. Here, Tax Foundation. Let's go here. .org. Here are the references. But then again, understand something. We're not here for one particular person. We're not here to convince one particular person. We're here to convince the multitude. So if 80% of you get it and 20% don't, hey, that's a win for us. I do that. And also, look, if 20% of you don't care about voting and registering to vote, that's okay. If 80% of you, that's a wonderful win. That's a fantastic. Sure. Yeah, I'll take those odds any day of the week. I'll even take 50-50.
If we went to school and the teacher failed us because 3 people in the class didn't get the curriculum, that'd be a bad teacher, right? So
it would be.
I don't expect us to do the same, right? So
yeah,
if you don't get it, you don't understand it, you choose to you choose to remain ignorant and based off your beliefs and not facts. Hey, look, can't help you. Only God can at that point.
Hey, RMX, Indiana, I want you to hop up. I'm going to time you out. If you want to speak, you can feel free to hop up. You can still click the link when I time you out. So here you go. Let me put the link in for RMX. He's going to come up and he's going to talk a little bit, let everybody introduce himself, and then he's going to explain to us how he's got some different theories. So, yeah, here we go. Let me put this here. Being timed out doesn't mean you can't click on this link. It works differently. So here we go. Let's see. R dot. Here you are again. Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, you gotta make special rules for special people out this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what the hell, man? In any case, now Mom Downey, he's explaining what he's going to do about the bus transport in New York. Transportation, public transportation is a big issue. How many million people live in New York City?
8 million.
8 million? 8 million?
8 million.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
No, it's 8 million for we're the densest, one of the densest cities in the world in comparison to our square footage.
Okay.
We're a tightly dense city.
Okay. I didn't know that. So I thought it was more than, I thought it was 8 million back in goddamn, when Curtis Blow was first rocking. AJ scratch record. 8 million people in this. I thought it ain't grow to 12 million yet. What the fuck? What happened? What's going on, man? You know what I'm saying? That's that's where I learned how many people lived in New York, from the AJ scratch record. Curtis Blow. Wow. Yeah. Should I drop that shit on there? Hold on. Let me see here. Damn, that was a fly ass record, bro. That was a fly ass record. I ain't gonna play I'm just gonna play a little snippet because YouTube is gonna try to block the hell. He's gonna try to give AJ Scratch all the revenue and shit. Fuck that. But the song is great though. I mean, referencing it is enough.
Donald Trump is deeply ill.
Damn, hold on. Yeah, this is you know who that is. He's out here. He's on Donald Trump's ass. Let me see here. AJ Scratch, Curtis Blow, up in the Bronx with a something. Curtis Blow, Curtis. Damn, that song was the shit. Yeah. Let's rock it.
Curtis Blow was big for his time, for sure.
1, 2, 3, 4, hit it.
Yeah, I can't play any more than that. But yeah, either it was this song or one of the other Curtis Blow songs, something like that. 8 million. I think it was one of these Curtis Blow songs that was talking about 8 million people in the city, right? But in any case, back to the real news. Now, big up to Curtis Blow out there. You know what I'm saying? Traveling. He's out. He came out here to Europe too, man. A couple of these cats.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's been out there and touring Europe lately. Curtis Blow, Sugar Hill Gang, not Sugar Hill Gang. I'm sorry.
Oh wow.
I'm talking about Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Them.
Grandmaster Flash.
Yeah. Melly Mel was with them. They kind of, I don't know how they do the thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Like Denmark has a good hip hop scene. Like
yeah.
I'm one of my more contemporary favorite artists. Toured in Copenhagen to be exact.
Oh really?
Like 1st of July. Yeah, the Clips.
Oh really? Ah, okay.
Like Copenhagen. Yeah.
Okay, damn. You gotta hit if you know them, man. Tell them to hit me up, bro. Tell them to hit me up for real. Yeah. But my son, man. He's got a group out here. You know what I mean? I don't play his music a lot, but he's actually got a good his group. They good, man. They make a lot of music, and they from Copenhagen too. I think they called the Kids of the Barrio, right? In Danish it's called Barney Quartel, right? And yeah, let me since we taking a little thing here, a little moment, let me play one of his joints up here. Because I don't think it will get flagged. I don't know why. It's something about how they do music different here. Not in Denmark, but how these young people do their goddamn music. They can become stars without even putting their record out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm serious. That's how the kids get down. They have their own little special apps where they produce their music. They in real studios. They put that shit out. It's sounding professional, but they don't register it. That's crazy, right? I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but they don't have to because it's in Danish. It's in Danish, so the market's not that big. So it doesn't. But they can still tour. They can still play because everybody's going to be listening to it. You see what I mean? So they just basically give it away for free. I tell them all the time, don't do that. Y'all need to register y'all shit. Like you need to get credit just for you never know what happens. But hold on, let me pull this up. Why isn't this coming up right? Something else happened here. I don't want Discover. I want WhatsApp. Where's WhatsApp? Oh, there it is. WhatsApp. I thought I already had it on this bad boy. I do. It's going to take a second to open up, but I want to play a little bit. But hold on, when it comes up, I'm going to play it. Let's hear some more Mom Dami while this opens up. Let's see here.
Because I want
Anybody can hop up on the link on the panel if you want. We got about an hour left. So if you want to hop up on the panel and speak, feel free.
a city where Christopher Leon Johnson has enough time to come and yell at a press conference. I don't want him to be stuck on the bus on the way to the press conference. That's the city I want. A city where you can heckle your public officials because the bus is running on time. And our streets should work like the working New Yorkers who use them, quickly and efficiently. With this Buckshot Action Plan, we are taking a huge step towards a future where our buses run as fast as everything else in this city we love. One where every New Yorker's commute is defined by ease and dignity. Thank you. This is for Christopher. This is for every New Yorker who takes the bus. And this is for everyone who knows that a world-class city deserves world-class buses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, I'd like to introduce our governor, whose leadership and partnership is foundational to this vision.
Hello, New York. You want to go faster? Well, so do I. And I want to thank our mayor and his team for working so closely with us. You know, we've wanted to do this before. This is not a brand new idea, but we never had the partnership and the leadership in City Hall that we have right now, and I want to give them a huge round of applause. And to all the transit advocates, the Riders Alliance and everyone else, let's give them a huge round of applause for always being on the front line of what is right. I want to thank Jan Oliver for running an extraordinarily complicated system, but does it in an incredible way. Let's give him a round of applause as well. Betsy Plum, the Executive Director of the Riders Alliance, and all of you, I thank you so much. You are an important part of us getting congestion pricing over the line. Thank you very much. And we'll continue to stand up to the Trump administration and say, that ain't going anywhere, Mr. President. We're keeping our congestion pricing because it's 27 million fewer cars on the roads in our city. You're also helping me with the next phase of the 2nd Avenue subway so we can eliminate transit deserts and let people have an opportunity to get to the better paying jobs. Thank you, Riders Alliance, for being with me on that one. And how do you like the sound of the Interborough Express? You want to be able to go from Brooklyn to Queens without a nice stop in Manhattan? We're going to make that happen. So we've done an awful lot to help people on our subways and make our trains faster, and rider satisfaction is up. But you know what? Let's focus on the bus riders. I want you to have the same positive experience that you deserve. This is a way that people get to their jobs. The nurses wake up at the crack of dawn and need the bus to get them to the hospitals to take care of us and our families. The school teachers who show up every single day. The people who work the night shift and have to go home. The bus is their lifeline. And the students who go to school every day. I remember being a student. Yes, it was a few years ago, I get it. But I remember being a 16-year-old living in a blue-collar suburb outside of Buffalo. And I used to leave school every day at noon. Don't tell my teachers. And I went and volunteered at the Democratic headquarters. I had an hour bus ride every day. I would have liked somebody to say, let's make those buses go faster. And that's what we're doing today. So it's about putting the money where our mouths are, right? This could have happened, but the resources were not there. And that's part of my historic $68 billion investment in public transit. That's how we're able to get 2,500 brand new buses. You're going to love these buses. They're incredible. You're not going to get off the bus. You're going to want to go to the next stop. It's going to be so great. But also, we're going to make sure that we speed it up at 50 priority locations. We're going to allow people to be able to come off the back, on and off the back. Think about that, how it's going to speed things up. We'll get that done as well. Use every door for the boarding. And we're going to complete the transition to tap and ride. So I'll be shorter than the mayor's 6 minutes. How do you feel about that? Got you beat there, Mayor. Because I know these people are in a hurry. They're in a hurry to finally have faster buses in New York City. We got it done. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce MTA Chair and CEO Jano Lieber.
6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Yeah. I got to turn that down right there. But that's Mom Donnie. That's New York. These are the buses. And that's their plan. Now, it's funny how on this trip we learned a lot more about the United States than we thought we would. You know, just going through some of the information about the system, taxes, listening to the chat, reading some of the chat messages that provoke us to go look up the information and find out what's truth from what's fact. Where do some people have it wrong? And today, not only did we learn a lot about the bus system and transport, how it works, we learned about the difference between the work hour, workers' rights from Denmark to the United States, what the difference is. We learned about the transport system. Like in Denmark, first of all, any public transport, right, which is what it's called, offentlig transport, you don't show your ticket when you get on. You just get on and you ride. You do pay a fee. But it's a trust system that they're trusting that you paid the fee, right? If a ticket checker happens to stop you and you did not pay your ticket to get on your mobile phone or something like that, then you will get a fine. The fine can be close to $100, right? The government has some new laws where kids up to 18 or no, even 25, if you're in school, you may not even pay public transport, and then coming soon. It's going to be ratified soon. But I know the new government has an agreement. That's part of their agreement. I think Ian Hill's listing, they worked on that along with a food tax, no tax on vegetables and fruit. That's also going to be ratified in Copenhagen. People are still saying, when is it going to be ratified? When is it going to be ratified? But that's something that the new government agreed to. So it's good to learn things about rights because, again, why do you go down this? Because, look, you may have it good, but how do you know how good you have it if you have nothing to compare it to? You might think you have it bad. Relax. Maybe you do have it bad. I'm not challenging that. But how do you know how bad you have it when you have nothing else to compare it to? And those are natural things that we do to kind of weigh out. You know, you don't want to just go by, I have it good. Okay. Yeah. How good? No, I have it good. How good? Can you explain how good you have it? Because I get this, and this. Okay, well, let's compare it to someone else who's most like you and find out how good that is. If it's, you might be okay good, but are you fantastic good? Or are you just, barely, you know, is your good somebody else's, Is your good somebody else's, I mean, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So that's what I want to look at it. That's what I want to know. Otherwise, if I don't know that, I feel like I get cheated. Now, let me rock. I'm gonna rock. This is a song my son and his homeboys, their group, they made something like maybe a year or two ago. It's one of their first songs, but it's actually got a lot of tracking here, and they got a whole lot of new stuff. I'm not gonna play it though, obviously his stuff, but they got some cranking stuff. They're called Kids of the Barrio. I don't know, but it's a lot of different single individuals, and then they came together as a group. So I'm going to play my son's rap name is DNL, and he did this song with another cat by the name of Emro. All right, so this is their theme song. This is not the one that's on the internet or anything, but it'll give you an idea. All right, let's go.
That's cool.
Hver jongen sikker for skyst, de tager risiko for den kron. Asger blev sendt med en taske og en funktionsdygtig kanon. Han var strapped up and ready, holdt en steady hop i aktion. En blev poppet fra en cykel, fik et korn lige gennem hans hoved.
På jagt efter mulala, kvarter kom her og vi ruller der. På jagt efter gualala, på jagt efter gualala. Jeg siger baby unana, YG han er på så vi husker ham. YG han er ude på rytter, 60 skud i ro, så er du ude herfra.
Alle sammen pakket klar ind i bilen, 4 masker og 4 af dem de. Men 4 af den ene er rystende maskiner, hopudtryk af en mere til at vise. Get the money, get the bag, on den dangerous young and strapped. Bitches snakker som de spinder, aldrig set dem på attack.
Vagtposten 14, vi ruller tung, så se os vi on top. Ruller kun med stikkis og blikis, så vi så får de shots.
Smith & Wessons og Berettas, vi stepper de ikke som os. Nogen der løber fra deres brødre, andre klar på at lade den på. Barn af kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønder.
Sort klip med skære, skarp lær, det var skarpt med til hans venner.
Ja, vi mange flere brødre ud på gang, YG blev en killer.
Barn af kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønder.
Sort klip med skære, skarp lær, det var skarpt med til hans venner.
Ja, vi mange flere brødre ud på gang, YG blev en killer. Vagtposten 14, vi ruller tung, så se os vi on top. Ruller kun med stikkis og blikis, så vi så får de shots.
Smith & Wessons og Berettas, vi stepper de ikke som os. Nogen der løber fra deres brødre, andre klar på at lade den på. Barn af kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønder.
Sort klip med skære, skarp lær, det var skarpt med til hans venner.
Ja, vi mange flere brødre ud på gang, YG blev en killer.
Barn af kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønder.
Sort klip med skære, skarp lær, det var skarpt med til hans venner.
Ja, vi mange flere brødre ud på gang, YG blev en killer.
Yeah, that's my son's group.
That's cool.
That's my son's group. And that's their song. They did this song, but they got a lot of songs now. Don't get me wrong, and they pump, they crank. That's the Danish language. They're rapping in Danish. You know, my son is American Dane, basically. Dansker og amerikansk. Hans far amerikaner, hans mor dansker. So his mom's Danish. I'm American, you know. So but you know, he's born and raised here in Denmark, and you know, they be kicking it, yo. They rock. And they have a lot of tracks out there, and like I said, these young kids, they don't even give a goddamn about Spotify. They on some whole other shit. They don't give a damn about YouTube. Yo, they throw their shit up in their own private apps, and they will have 20,000 listeners, like seriously, in a weekend, something like that. Like the young people that speak Danish, they know that their market is not as big as the American market, so they don't use the same tools to promote their shit. They can actually go on tour without even having their shit on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, you know, they can go around the Scandinavian. Also, yo, Alex, also to Norway. If you want to get them up there in Norway, let me know, man. We could take the ferry right over to Oslo. You know, it only takes an hour, something like that. Have a nice little ride over there, kick it for a day, and come back in the evening. You know what I'm saying? Let me know, Alex, what you think about that. Yeah, but yeah. Oh, and they got that song is like 2 years ago or something. But they got way more cranking shit now. They have a lot of shit. And it's like 2-3 of them when they want to make it big. You know what I'm saying? It's maybe they have a song. They got one song where they got 5 of them. But most of them, it's 2 to 3. And that song was just my son and the other cat, Emro, right? And if you want to know which one was my son, Emro has the real smooth, lighter voice. My son had the little deeper voice. Let me see here. I'm gonna bring it back. Yeah, that song cranks. It's a party song. They got a lot of party songs, and the song is called "Kids of the Barrio." In Danish, that's like Bonnie Quarter, right? Or in English, that would be "Kids in the Quarter." You know, Quarter. I don't know how you translate that. In my mind, it would be "Kids of the Barrio," right? And yeah, but in Danish, that would be Bonnie Quarter. Okay? Let me see here. That's Emro right there. And the one with the lower voice is my son. They call him DNL.
Up and ready, holdt en stadig hop i aktion. En blev poppet fra en cykel, fik et korn lige gennem
På jagt efter mulala, kvarter kom her.
That's my son right there.
Og vi ruller der. På jagt efter gualala. På jagt efter gualala. Jeg siger baby unana. Waji han er på, så vi husker ham. Waji han er ude på rytter. 60 skud i ro, så er du ude herfra.
Alt sammen pakket klar ind i bilen. 4 masker, 4 af dem de, men 4 af den ene. Rystende maskiner, håndudtryk af en mere til avisen. Get the money, get the bag. On den dangerous young and strapped. Bitches snakker som de spinner. Aldrig set dem på attack.
Vagtposten 14, vi ruller tung, så
That's my son right there.
Ruller kun med stikkis og blikis, så vi så får de shots.
Smith & Wessons og Berettas, vi stepper de ikke som os. Nogen der løber fra deres brødre, andre klar på at lade den på. Barn er kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønner.
Sort klit med skære, skarp lad, det var skarpt med til hans venner.
Ja, vi er mange flere brødre, ud på gang, YG blev en kælder.
Barn er kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønner.
Sort klit med skære, skarp lad, det var skarpt med til hans venner.
Ja, vi er mange flere brødre, ud på gang, YG blev en kælder. Vagtposten 14, vi ruller tung, så se os, vi er
That's my son right here.
Kun med stikkis og blikis, så vi så får de shots.
Smith & Wessons og Berettas, vi stepper de ikke som os. Nogen der løber fra deres brødre, andre klar på at lade den på. Barn er kvarteret, en der swiver, den anden der sender par bønner.
Flere blev markeret, ruller tungt med de brødre, ved godt jeg sønner.
So they talking about the kids in the barrio, you know what I'm saying? They talking about the kids downtown. You know what I mean? How the kids downtown are rolling. You know, and if you speak Danish or if you speak Norsk, you can understand what they're saying, right? If you speak a Nordic language, you can understand what they. You know, by the way, Norwegian and Danish, they're like 85% exactly the same. You know, folk can forstå hinanden. They might have a different accent, but it's generally the same language. You know, especially if you read Nordic, you can read both, right? But check this out. Look, these kids, man, the young kids, one thing I'm impressed about, because I have a music background, but one thing I'm impressed about the young kids is that they know the new technology. They are different in Denmark. I'm sure in the Nordic lands, they don't need YouTube to do what they want to get done because they know that they're speaking a Nordic language. So that puts YouTube and Spotify out of it. They use their kids here in the Nordic lands. They're happy to hear people speaking their own language. So anybody that's speaking their own language, boom, people are going to listen to. If it's something new, if it's something useful. I heard you say you was a little. Alex said you heard him talking about blickies and things like that. Yeah, but they talking about the kids in the quarter. You know how it is downtown, the downtown scene in Copenhagen, or not even downtown, just Copenhagen life. Some of these young kids are like, shit happens around here, you know. But it is musical, and it's more like theatrics. You know what I mean? One thing I like about my son's music is a lot of it has a lot of feeling, like music soundtrack kind of vibes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Or would you say promoting Nordic hip hop for a while? Yeah, YLTV promoting. Okay, let me know. Yeah, hook them up if you want. But we can talk about that, Alex. I'll hit you up, man. No worries, Sandika. I'll hit you up. In any case, folks, I'm gonna be out. I appreciate everybody for listening again. I think we learned a lot. You said why? What is it? YLTV is YouTube channel. Okay. I'm gonna check it out. Yeah. I appreciate everybody for coming out. We finished what was the subject here? We went over some the 16th Amendment. We went over income taxes. That's income taxes, the introduction of income taxes in the United States. Basically, the U.S. didn't have any income tax for like the first 100 years. Why it was introduced. Young Leaders TV. Okay. Why it was introduced to income taxes in the U.S. We talked about the public transport system, comparing Denmark to the U.S., to New York, for example, or other cities, because Mondami is rolling out a new bus plan. And we also public bus transportation plan. And that's almost $1 billion. 80 million is, 800 million is a lot of money. And that's all New York taxes. That's local New Yorkers who fed. Nobody else in the country is contributed to that. Now, New York is also a giver state, so they generate more federal taxes than they use, and that excess goes to other states like Texas, whatever. Right now, and we also talked about wages, not wages, but benefits, full-time work, comparative data from the United States and Denmark. What gives you how your benefits, your full-time benefits are spread out. What does the average full-time worker get in Denmark versus the average full-time worker in the United States? So we covered that. So there you go. So go back to the beginning of the video and take a listen. I appreciate everybody for coming out. Yo, Michael, you want to say anything before we out, bro? Michael from Brooklyn?
No, I'll save it. I'll save it for the next stream. Just that they have some new economic
data
ideas around taxation with AI now being a thing. Essentially, we should be looking at taxing capital gains the same way we do income tax, closing up loopholes because assets are going to be more valuable in the near future than labor due to AI. But we'll discuss that next time.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thank you, guys.
It's my day off, so it's going to be probably like 8 hours from now. So right. The next time I go live, that'll give people a chance to sleep, get their day going.
I'll reach out to you and we'll figure it out. Yeah,
let's do that. We set that up. All right, I appreciate everybody for coming out. And we catch up with y'all real soon. All right. So have a good start to your day if you're in the U.S. If you're in the EU, continue having a wonderful lunch. It's about lunchtime here. So all right now. So I'll catch up to y'all soon. Peace. Appreciate everybody. Let's go. See you later. Impeach Trump. Release the Epstein files. Fuck JD Vance. Fuck Marco Rubio. Let's get shit right for Americans. The average American. The working class and the poor. Peace.
Yeah, see ya. Again, scratching, working, struggling, hoping. Some is hustling, every man hustling, stay alive, that's the game. It don't matter if another gets slain. Pain, recession, other cats want a war, we got the weapon. People want bombs, so they gon' get them. This is the rhythm, the politics ticking. It's sad how we living in this life. It's gonna be a time that we change. Shit is not finite, life is the same. Motherfuckers killing each other to make a claim. Stop that bullshit, you have no respect for each other. You know the truth, you come from your mother, your sister, your brother. So love one another. If we make that change, the whole world will do the same. So listen.
Only this one love. Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? No.
What about the kids?
Don't forget the children.
Tell them about the children.
What about the children crying? Oh no.
I wish someone would tell me when is the suffering gonna stop. I see time ticking, fuck your watch. There comes a time when man steps to the plate, but it won't matter if your mentality is fake. Where I'm from, we got a system, overcrowded prisons, 2 cents an hour, man. Listen, shit don't change if we keep exploiting each other. One day you find out you only did it to your brother. A homeless mother, a baby, no supper. She got a husband and father, they both love her, but they can't find work cause the people with the power, they got a strange way to govern. Their price tags say nothing. Life is funny, then again it's really not. People dying for what other people got. I asked God if he can come and change the shit. He said, hell no, it's you that's gotta change, bitch.
Every day the children dying. What about the children crying? One.
want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. Orientation in this place we call Earth. Love from conception, from your mom, your birth. Pops planted the seed in the turf. From there, you must find out what life is worth. Grew up learning your do's and don'ts before working on your motor skills, working on your coordination, right? And orientation to what your life. The brand new thing, so gentle the soul we're capturing. In this distance, the alphabets the kids sing. They celebrate when it's time to go outside. As you get older, you learn to let all the troubles in your life just glide away. Stay focused, keep it smooth, keep you cool. Things in life can make it get rude. If you let it, don't let it. 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 If you let it, let it, let it, what? If you let it, don't let it, let it. If you let it, what? Don't let it. If you let it, don't let it, let it. Don't let it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We embark on this journey through your soul. We wanna have a good time. We embark on this journey through your soul. We wanna have a good time. We do something that you know you can't deny. We're just slipping in and out on a journey, you and I, on a mission to salvation. Our spirit be our transportation. We think you'll do a little love and that is true. For real, we bring something that you know you can't deny. We're just slipping in and out on a journey, you and I. Bring it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. We know what you feel, you want it. We got what you want, you can have it. We got what you need, you want it. We know what you want, we got it. You want it, we got what you
Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline. On what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed.
So just relax, just hear the dope cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can where you're at. Just relax, and just hear the dope cry. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can where you're at.
Entertainment, at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you
could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hit the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gag. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. I'm just real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat, just relax. And hear a dope track. I'm just real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat, just relax. My mind state, not balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. Introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop killers, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid, I bet for keep to me just relax, and just hear a dope crack. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat, just relax, and just hear a dope crack. The vibes is real nice, everything is real bad. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you could wear your hat, just relax.